good. Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
So tell everybody your name and what you do.
Okay.
Alexandra.
So my name is Alexandra Bonnet, but I go by Alex. And I am the entertainment editor of Bello Media Group, which has 3 magazines, Bello Mag, Vulcan Mag, and Tilted Style. And yeah, that's who I am.
Yeah, you do like exactly what I always thought like a really cool job is. You get to interview and write about people all the time. And that's always been something that I thought was a really cool job to have. Like you're always on set whenever we did the shoots with different people, and you get to ask them questions. And how did you come about wanting to do that?
Well, first of all, I love talking. So
This should be easy then.
Yeah, I love talking, so that made it definitely. Talking and writing has always been a thing, but in college I started with pursuing a psychology major, and the first year in, I was terrible at the science part of it. I got a C and a D both semesters, and I was very discouraged. And then my grandpa came one day and he said, "What are you doing? Why aren't you writing? I don't get it." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Well, you wrote a whole 4-page pictures included article on your cousin's wedding like a few years ago when you were like 14. Don't you want to keep doing that?" And I guess that kind of clicked in my brain that day, and then I switched to doing French and journalism. I know French is cheating, but had to keep the French a little bit.
Not at all. I mean, that's crazy that it's always the grandparents that seem to pull stuff up too, right? Oh, well, you did this when you were 3, and I'm like, I don't remember doing that at 3.
I don't remember doing that at all.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared too. I thought he was gonna think I was a failure or something. Tell me like, "Oh, you're getting bad grades." And
right.
No, not at all. He just literally redirected my course and reminded me what I love. And that's how that kind of started. And that was the second semester of my freshman year. So
That's
it was
interesting.
pretty early on. I was able to do the switches.
It didn't make you feel bad like mine would. Mine would always be like, well, that's disappointing.
Oh, no. No, luckily.
That's disappointing.
Luckily,
and then
Grandpa.
They would just walk away.
No. Oh, that breaks my heart. No, luckily, Grandpa and Grandma, she wasn't there. She was at home. But no, he was very just.
So did you grow up with your grandparents then?
Well, when I was young, as in a baby, my mom divorced my dad when I was 6 months. So I was kind of living with my grandparents a lot.
Okay.
And I'm the first child in the family. I'm the first grandchild. Sorry, not
You're the
child.
oldest.
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Okay.
And then there's my sister and my cousin on my mom's. This is all on my mom's side. And I spend a lot of time with my grandparents up in Thousand Oaks. A lot of time.
Yeah.
My grandma and I were very, very close. And my grandpa too, he taught me, he's American. So my French grandpa died when my mom was 12. Okay. So I've only known my American grandpa. That's why I have family in Nebraska, and which I love.
France and Nebraska.
Yes, France and Nebraska. Wow. And an aunt who's Chinese American.
Okay.
So I love it. We have so many cultures in my family. It's beautiful. And yeah, I've been very, very close. My grandpa always taught me all the American things I wasn't necessarily learning in school because I went to a French school.
Right.
So he taught me all of that, and I've always been very close. But I've never fully lived with them, just kind of grew up with them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how many languages do you speak?
Fluently 100% French and English.
Okay.
And Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah. It was Spanish or German. And I didn't see myself using German.
No,
So, especially living in LA, and also, let's face it, Spanish and French are very similar. So it was a lot easier to learn.
That was always the options for us in school were Spanish, French, and then there was one German class, but it was one. And I just didn't think I'd ever use it.
What did you go for?
Spanish.
Spanish, nice.
Yeah, because, it was the most common here.
Yeah.
So, and French was one where it was if I want to, I can, but I'll probably use this more,
Yes.
which I didn't, but not to the extent of which I needed to, but I definitely wouldn't use German.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I
don't think so. I don't even really think I don't really know anybody in my life, at least, or my circle, that's like speaks German that I would need to like communicate with.
Yeah, same.
There's plenty of people that speak only Spanish.
Yes.
For me, but not very many that speak German.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
I could have used the German skills once when I was in Italy and I was at this bed and breakfast. And
in Italy, you could have used your German skills.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very funny. I'm gonna make a
yeah, go ahead.
long story short. We're at this B&B with the person I was traveling with at the time, and the owner did not speak Italian, and his daughter wasn't there. I mean, whoa, that's not what I meant. Did not speak English. He spoke Italian. And there was a German couple also staying at the B&B, and they didn't speak Italian or English or French. So there was myself with French and English, the person I was with, Hebrew and English, and then you had Italian and German, and we used Google Translate all night. And in that moment, I was like, I could use a few words of German right now.
Yeah.
Only time.
That's still not worth all the years it take.
For that one moment in time.
Spanish and French is a good one.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Thousand Oaks then?
So I was born in Thousand Oaks.
Okay.
And then I think I was about 18 months old when my mom met my stepdad and then got remarried and we moved to LA. And then I grew up in Beverly Hills for a little bit and then we moved to Mar Vista Park area. So I've grown up in like West LA my whole life.
Yeah. So you know it pretty well.
Yes.
And so with what you do now, that must make it easy because you kind of have like your roots here.
100%.
Everything.
And West Hollywood is like a 30-minute drive from my apartment at the moment because I moved back to the same area I grew up in, and it's great. I love it.
Love just being back and being familiar.
Yeah, and I'm close to the beach, and all my friends live around, like quite literally a 4-minute drive, all of them. So
that's nice.
It's very nice.
Very close. You still have your space.
Yes.
So what got you into? I mean, obviously, when your grandfather was telling you to get back into writing, did you like go to school for that, or did you? So what was it like growing up and being interested in that?
Well, I was at that time I was at LMU here in Playa del Rey area, and so like I said, it was my freshman year. I was living in the dorms, just a freshman year, and I just kind of went in trying to start my college career as all kids were supposed to be doing. At least that's what my high school was prepping us for, and then I did the switch, and then it was just really fun because I got to, not only my grandpa reminded me of a passion of mine, which is writing. I got to then explore, and we were doing broadcasts, we were doing investigative journalism, we were just all types of journalism. And on top of that, it was during the Trump elections, like the Trump time when all that was starting in 2015. Oh my God, wow.
Yeah, it's gone by quick.
It's gone by so quick. So it was around that time that I was starting to take these journalism classes. So we were very, very
it was a crazy news environment.
In it, and it was just insane to see the Twitter, the Twitter, I sound so old, Twitter go off and all these different things happening, and it was just very cool. And then it ended with my capstone project was to find a topic and kind of work on it the whole semester. You needed to do fact checking, go interview people, all those kind of things. And I did it on women who have been abused but who are incarcerated because they protected themselves, or in some cases we found it's not always as clear as day. So I kind of worked on that for a semester, which was really, really cool.
So tell me about that. So how did you come to be diving into that?
Well, I've personally been a victim of abuse in a relationship, and I was thinking about what I would do, and that I had just gone through, maybe within the year before, not even within the year, I had just gone through that, and it just kind of sparked. And then I was talking to my teacher, and I remember she was like, okay, well, how can we make this even more targeted? And so I ended up, I honestly don't even know. I feel like must have had a conversation with someone who like
Yeah.
brought up that idea. And that's why I kind of wanted to pursue it, because I wanted to kind of not expose, but show just how deep things go and how not everything's black and white. And, you know, there's different stories, there's different sides, there's different ways and people involved. I even got to talk to one, you know, like someone up there in the detective side of things, and went to a bunch of nonprofit organizations in downtown, and, you know, just kind of went and tried to get to know people and hear different stories. I spoke to 2 women who had gotten out of jail recently because of that, so yeah, it was very interesting to get to know that.
That's like a really interesting type of journalism to me. Like when you have to go out and find things. It's almost like a detective. You have to go find clues.
You're literally like a detective, a lawyer.
Yeah.
You know how you need to have all your facts because you want to make sure what you do. I mean, we had every few weeks, we had to check in where my teacher would give us a list of what you needed and what kind of sources. So, you know, an interview with a victim, an interview with someone in the police department, you know, and you had to find, and you also had to go into looking for academic journals and utilize that part of college.
Right.
So
right.
it was fun. It definitely taught me, I feel, to now whatever I do, I pay attention to the details and try to make notes of things sometimes.
Like mental notes?
Mental
like
notes, just mental notes. Sometimes I'll write them in my phone, but just mental notes, and like learning to see a little bit further than, like, a lot of times what you see, there's like way more behind it, obviously. But if you pay attention and you kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like when someone's talking to you and they're telling you something, you can hear in their voice what they're trying to really say.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that, but for everything.
For everything else.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, what's it called? What was the major called? Was it just journalism?
It was just, well, at the time, they only offered a minor.
Okay.
And they only offered a major, I think, starting the 2nd semester of my senior year. And I was like, I'm not
going to stay.
I'm not going to stay an extra year.
Yeah.
and I'm not going to,
LMU isn't cheap either.
yeah, no, I'm very grateful. My parents really helped me. There's still a little bit of debt, obviously, but I was very grateful to have parents. And then I moved back home too after the first year. So I was living at home for...
That cuts a lot of it out too.
Yes.
It's amazing how much they charge for those little rooms.
Honestly, that's the only
It's
thing.
the right decision. There's nothing I can tell you.
And lately, this has been the biggest topic of conversation in my life, is just let people be there, support, love as much as you can, but at the end of the day, people will make their own decisions.
They need to.
Yeah, and also, you know, you could tell someone, yeah, it sounds like you should quit, and then they're gonna do it, and you could end up being the person they resent because you were like
the wrong choice.
Yeah,
they just needed someone to keep them in there for a little longer.
Exactly. So it's like, no, you can love, support, but agreed.
That's why, like, I don't like. There's people that when I was contemplating quitting were like, no, you shouldn't, and like I don't blame them because like it's a big decision. And it can go wildly wrong. You know, you can be in a situation where, you know, you quit and then you never accomplish certain things because you didn't have the tools. Because we do have a society still that is very based on the degree. You know, it would be difficult even with my portfolio and with my history and everything that I've done with working with some of the biggest brands in the country, working with some of the biggest celebrities in the world. Like, it would be difficult for me to go fill out an application to go work at like an office somewhere, because even just with the resume system and everything, like if you check the box like college degree or not, like if they just filter you out like instantaneously, so you could be like this amazing person and they still don't see it,
which is silly.
Yeah,
it's very silly.
I think it's dumb.
I think
because there's some friends of mine that have degrees that I'm just like, how do you know? How do you,
okay.
Yeah, I mean they're fine. They're doing fine, and I'm sitting over here like always like, you know, figuring out like why am I struggling with this or why am I struggling with that? And I look at my friends and I'm just like, okay, why is this so easy for them? But you know, like it's just one of those things where like I would never want to tell someone that like, yeah, no, quit. Like I know there are like those self-help gurus and like those like motivational people that are always saying that, and I'm just like, like tell them it's an option, but don't push them off the ledge.
No,
you know, 'cause it maybe isn't a good choice.
again, who are we to, like, if the person involved, like the one who needs to make a decision, doesn't even know what the good choice is, how are we supposed to know?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it feels nice when you tell someone, what should I do?
Yeah.
And they give it to you. I've had moments where someone's been like, you should just do this. And I'm like, okay. But after 2 days later, I go, oh,
Right.
why did I do
Yeah.
this?
Right.
I wish I just
Wasn't
waited.
there that Marvin? Wasn't there that? Who tell her about that guy that quit his job or something for Logan Paul? Wasn't that a guy?
Oh yeah, there was a guy who had like a 6-figure salary job, and he didn't really love it. You can tell. So he quit his job and went to Logan Paul at an
Okay.
event, like rushed him and was like, "Hey, I quit my job." Put him on the spot, asked him for a job like on camera, and obviously Logan Paul's like thrown off.
No.
Told him no, and like then the guy went viral because he went in his car and like cried and said like, I quit my job, I don't know what I'm gonna do, I just like went on a hunch, because he thought like it was gonna be this magical moment of like, hey, I'm getting a job, I quit for you, like I want to learn from you. And
He's gonna be whisked away by Logan Paul off to
Yeah.
a new job. It's gonna pay a 7-figure salary and all. It's just like, what are you
yeah, and it
thinking?
didn't make any sense.
Wow.
And so I thought it was gonna obviously play out differently, but it didn't. And so I don't know, people do quit and it works out, and sometimes they quit and maybe
it
they
doesn't.
shouldn't have quit.
See, I didn't really look that deep into that story, but like I still am always like, there's a part of me that's hoping it's staged, because I'm just like, you couldn't have possibly thought that you would just corner this guy
And he'll give you a job.
and he'll give you a job.
Also, I don't really go with, I follow the gossip of town,
Yeah,
but
right.
I realize I'm very old. Like,
Me too. That's why I heard about it from someone who follows
Yeah,
it.
I'm like,
That's why.
I'm 20, I just turned 24, and I feel sometimes like I'm such a grandma, because I'm
Yeah.
just, but I keep up to date, but plus, isn't Logan Paul kind of known to be,
Like
mean,
mean.
not the nice,
I think
or is it, wait, which one's
It's
the
the
one
other
who
one.
fights?
Jake
Which-
Paul.
Oh,
It's
Jake
the other
Paul is the
one.
one who's,
That's the boxer.
he's the
Yeah.
boxer. Boxer.
Yeah, boxer.
no, but
Fighter.
isn't Logan Paul a boxer too?
He fought Floyd Mayweather.
I sound so old right now.
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
They both fight. I think.
Yeah.
Wait,
They both
which
that
one?
wasn't helpful. That wasn't
They
saying
both
that
fight.
one of them's a boxer and then they both are boxers is not helpful.
Whatever. Anyways,
No,
don't
one
they
of them's-
also have the reputation.
One of them's taller and one of them has a beard. That's how I know it. Like one of them's, the older one is taller and the younger one has a beard. That's the
Okay.
And I think it's I would like to think it's a persona, like just based on everything else that I know from
Yeah.
celebrity people and things. Is a lot of times it's a thing
Yeah.
they create, but I mean, yeah, he could be an asshole, but
Yeah.
like I don't know, but I don't care if it's the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
It doesn't make
Like
sense.
quitting your job and going and being like, give me a job is so like presumptuous to me. Like
I
I,
mean,
would never waltz into somewhere. I guess some people would be the opposite. They'd say, yeah, you got to go take those opportunities. But I'm just like, no,
I feel like there's a right time and place.
that was not the right time. Wasn't like a backstage of a concert or
Like-
something. It was,
like
it was,
there's a time and place.
Yeah.
Like if you're going somewhere and you know someone important. I'm more of a, free bird and all, but I'm
Yeah.
also like calculate a little bit,
you,
you know?
you have to,
like,
yeah. I mean, the
yeah.
smarter thing would have been to say, like, if you even were still going to corner this guy, which I don't recommend. Like, that's not the right way to do it. But let's say you were still going to do that. Don't quit your job. Go see how it
go
goes.
corner
Yeah.
and then do it. Yeah.
If you
also
really want to
positive.
you could have said you quit your job, but you didn't. You
Yeah.
know, you could just, if you really wanted to gauge a reaction, you could have done that. And that's why I'm always like looking at him in the car, and I'm like, did he really quit the job, or is this just
Yeah, it might
is
have been
this a ploy to kind of get attention? I don't know. I didn't follow up any further from that.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard about it, so this is interesting.
But
All
like,
right.
but that kind of thing is probably more common than you'd think. Like people just quitting and then being like, okay, well, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And like I think that's good in some cases. Like some people being forced into uncomfortable situations, no doubt. But like they need to make that decision.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when people are like advising them to do it, it's like, no, like if they're ready to do that, then it might be the right decision. It might be the best decision they ever made. It also might be the worst decision they ever made. You just don't know. So I never really liked those blanket like motivational things that are like, just quit and follow your dreams. And I'm like, well,
I think it's calculated. Quit.
Yeah, make
like
sure,
calculate
you
just
know.
a little bit because you want to make sure that you can. Like I've had people close to me where they were gonna take a break for a bit, but they had backups, as in they figured out like how they were gonna be sustained financially,
Exactly.
where they're gonna live. Like it's like. Trust me, there are days, I'm sure we've all been there, where we're like, yeah, I want to get up and quit and say, woo,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
hello
drive off into the
world. Like,
sunset
I'm
and
just
I'm gonna leave. I'm just
Backpack
gonna.
Europe or something.
you can't really do that. you can't really do that without a little bit of calculation.
Yeah.
And the basic things are money, home, roof over your head, and some money to live.
And even just like a future like plan. Like I never really had a plan for my life. Like I didn't. I just kind of took things as they came, and especially with this kind of career, it's like it's every week is different. Yeah. But like you have to kind of have some vision for where you want to go. You can't just quit and be like, well, okay, what's now?
Yeah. Agreed. It's important.
That's
Even
what
if you don't know what that vision is, you try.
Yeah, and like that should be like if you have this idea of where you want to be in 10 years or 5 years or 2 years or whatever, like spend your free time working towards that goal, and don't just quit your job and go hound a YouTuber for a job. Like that just doesn't, on paper, if you read that back to yourself, you'd be like,
I'm hearing you say it out
Okay.
loud, and I'm like, wait.
that's why I still feel like it was a PR thing. Everyone else is like, no, it's not a PR thing. Like and I'm just like, nobody would read that on paper and say, okay, step 1, quit perfect job.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not perfect, but I mean, come on. You're not, you're not in some hell job where you're just, you're making nothing.
You're making some good money.
You're comfortable. It may not be stimulating. You may not love it, but you have the money and the time probably to work on your goals.
We should find this person, and then you have him come here.
Oh, God, no.
So he can explain it.
Why did
So-
you?
This is people I want to interview who are interesting to me. Like, not people that I'm like, what were you thinking? That's a different kind of show. Maybe that could be like a complimentary show where it's like, what the fuck were you
Special
thinking?
edition.
Yeah.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah. What were you doing? Like, it would just be an hour of me just momming them and being like, what the hell were you thinking? What was this? What was this supposed to be?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that'd
you
be
didn't do
interesting.
that, obviously. You finished. Like, you finished your
No.
school.
It would have been impossible for me. I was growing up. I still kind of am to a certain degree, but I was the goody two shoes.
Me too, but look how that worked out.
Well, with college, I literally was going for the classes, but
Yeah.
I didn't. I was hanging out with all the international kids at SMC.
You even have kind of like I always thought you were from like France or something.
I'm so happy you say
It's
that.
hilarious to me that you.
I love it when you say
You
that.
waltz in and go, no, I'm actually from Thousand Oaks. I just learned French at a really young age, and so it influenced my speech. And I'm like, oh,
Well,
Okay.
I'm fully French.
yeah.
I'm only French.
Yeah.
And so it's like
Even your dad.
my dad, my stepdad, and my mom.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like, yeah, I've got both passports,
Yeah.
both citizenships, and
You were born here though.
I was born
so they,
here.
they just give you a passport, or did
I
is it based on like your parents being?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just know I've had it since I was a baby, so they took care of the process.
Yeah. I think Europeans, a lot of the Europeans, are
I think-
like that.
yeah,
if
'cause
your-
I'm-
if your parents are, they automatically give you.
you
one.
get it from and
Yeah.
so I did that, and then I went to a French school. As in, like, I had one English class from the age of
Oh, wow.
4 to
Here, you went to one here. Yeah.
Lycée
There's a bunch
Français.
of them.
I know.
There's like 2 or 3 of them that I've
So
driven
there's
by.
Le Lycée Français, and then
Yeah.
there's Lila, but then they have different
Maybe it's
different
the same
buildings.
one with different
Mhm.
buildings. Yeah.
Lycée in LA has just different buildings, and
Interesting.
I did everything in French basically until the last 2 years of high school in France. You have, and now it's apparently changed since I graduated, but you have a national exam, le baccalauréat, and it covers everything: philosophy, math, history, economy, French, Spanish, English, all of that. And
She has a good like cigarette voice, like a really like romantic
Oh.
French
Cigarette.
voice. But I can just imagine her with like a cigarette and like a croissant.
I've been
like-
wanting a cigarette, so it's funny you say that because
Just for some reason.
I've been craving a cigarette, so maybe
You know
maybe
those
it's
like those
reflecting.
those classic French girls with just like the like they're like the models with like the they have like their breakfast is like a croissant and like a cigarette.
Yeah.
Oh, my breakfast is coffee and a cigarette, but you know.
That kind of Grace Jones voice or something.
I do like that about the French. Is I was in France, and the women, they do have cigarettes and they do drink coffee, and they act like they're not like expected to act girly like here in America, which I appreciate.
No, they act
because I want
French.
them to just be real.
They just
person.
act French.
And smoking cigarettes,
It's
you know,
very
usually
unique.
here it's looked down upon, but over there it's not, and that's how I feel. I don't care if you smoke or don't smoke. Here, people have an opinion if you smoke a
Yeah, I
cigarette.
know. People
It's
get all
annoying.
crazy when you light up on the side of a plane, and
Yeah.
you know.
No, they're crazy. That's why I don't, out of respect for like when we're on set with, you know, when
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah.
shoots, I don't smoke. I
Oh,
also,
really? That's the one time when there's always
Oh.
people smoking.
everyone who's, you know, when it's just, especially when it's like mainly me who's there and who's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
representative.
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, because we work so much with the showroom, I'm always so scared to like.
The clothes.
The
will
clothes
smell.
will
Yeah.
smell. Yeah.
Why
yeah.
do you think
No,
I
that's-
don't borrow
that's-
any of those cute outfits to
Yeah.
go out at night? Because I could if I wanted to, but
Yeah.
I know that I'm gonna come back. It's gonna smell like cigarettes, probably some alcohol.
They'll know it's
and
you.
Tanya's gonna go, Alex.
You have to dry clean.
What are
it.
you doing?
No. She'll be like, dude. And I'll be like, I'm sorry.
That's like that's just like the classic like French girl thing. It's always been the fashion
I
and
always-
French girl thing is like that. Just like black coffee and you know.
It's a
It's
bad
such
habit.
it's such a like harsh awakening to your day, but they just it's like that's the thing.
I
Walk
know.
out the door.
It's nice. I mean, I've noticed lately when I go back, because right now I've been like working from home because we've been closed for
Yeah.
you know, for the holidays. But luckily, when I actually go to work, I don't have a cigarette until like 1 p.m. Sometimes I try to, you know, train my body. But this week I've been stress smoking, and now
Oh,
I got in
really?
a habit. Like this morning, I had my coffee and cigarette.
Do you roll your own cigarette, or do you
Oh,
have a brand?
I try. Okay. First of all, I tried rolling for a bit at some point when I was trying to quit. I've tried to quit multiple times. It's so annoying.
I feel like you will. I feel like everyone who smokes eventually quits. That's the
or
new
you
thing.
quit for like a month and then
the
come
thing is,
back.
I could survive. Like, say we go somewhere and
Mm-hmm.
you know, for some reason I can't have access to cigarettes for a week. I'm not gonna lose it. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, I would survive. I would survive without it. I'm terrible. Where is it? My purse is over there. I can see it sticking
You're
out.
not, like-
I have
you're
a
not-
vape too.
Oh, nice.
You're not stuck to it like it's a like because I didn't even know I'm thinking of like that classic like you know French stereotype of like the and I didn't realize you actually smoked, but
No,
That's like- that's
that's where
funny.
that's where the voice.
I thought that's just a French accent.
No, well, I have the accent too, apparently, which makes me very happy because I want to hold on to that French accent. Oh well, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was just a French accent. I thought that raspy voice was just because I whenever I get a cold, I'm always like, I wish my voice stayed like this.
Well, this is
You know?
this is I'm not proud of it, but this is the last 3-4 days I have chain
Just stressed
smo-
out.
No,
It's
like
the time of year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know when this is
going
going to be coming out, but this is like we're recording this in
between
the
Christmas
no
and
man's
New
land
Year's.
between Christmas and New Year's, which is like this. It's like idling hell. It's like nothing gets done, except like I'm getting a lot of things done, but like nothing outside of what you can do yourself gets done because everyone's closed or everyone's off or they're not really on. For some reason, like people, even if they're open, like they're just not.
Well,
they're
everyone's
not
checked
into
out.
it. They're
And
checked
everyone's
out.
No,
waiting for
everyone's-
2022.
I've
When
been
it's the
purging.
second, they'll be on it. But
Yeah.
for some reason, even if you're open, they're just checked out until the new
Yeah.
year. They're just like, whatever.
Oh yeah, no.
You know?
I'm kind of this is the first time I've like really gotten up in the last 5 days and gotten dressed for something.
Like
I've just been it never happens to me. I'm usually, because I'm the type of person, I make time for people. I
Yeah,
really put
yeah.
in effort. I don't do the whole, you know, but lately I just keep I've even stopped telling people I'm sorry I'm going, because there just always is either something's happening or I'm just exhausted. And
Right.
so yes, this no man's land
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
I literally have been purging for the last few days. I've been letting everything out. I've been just trying to like channel as many emotions so I can just let them out. I've saged my house 3 times
Oh, wow.
already in the last week.
Yeah, just preparing yourself just for something different.
I just want peace.
Yeah,
Like really just some peace. I know things can't be perfect all the time. I'm learning adulthood is hard. I keep
Yeah.
saying that,
Yeah.
but lately I'm realizing like, wow.
Someone told me recently, I think it was like from a meme or something, but they said like being an adult is like being a child is the free trial to citizenship in a country, and like being an adult is like where you pay taxes and everything's like the full
the
full membership. And I'm just like, oh, it's true. Like when you're a kid, you have to pay for nothing. Everything's taken care
My
of.
brain is processing this.
And then once you turn 18, you're like, here's your taxes, and here's your this, and here's your that, and it's just like, oh. And I'm already thinking, I'm like, oh man, how much longer can I stretch this? Like at certain things, I'm like, do I have to pay that right now? Can I pay it later?
Payment plans have become my best friend.
It's just like, oh.
Those payment plans I got for everything from, important things to my lightning in a bottle ticket for next year. Payment plans.
And for every like good month, like there's like a good month of like, hey guys, there's a good month of like November to like November was a great month, right? Like it was a busy, in December it was like cratered. It was just nothing. We did nothing. And I'm like, couldn't it just flipped around? It would have been better for November to be empty because I had nothing to do in November. But then, December I had like Christmas and all these things, and I just was like, oh my gosh, like I have to do all this stuff. I have to pay for all this stuff, and like when you're a kid, it's just like,
you're
no
like,
big
oh,
deal, whatever.
You get to wake up and you're like, did Santa eat the cookies? Did Santa get me my, Barbie doll I wanted?
Right.
And I really, really miss being, and I think like I keep holding on to that childish side more and more now.
Yeah.
I have stuffed animals that I, always like just hold.
Have kept and things.
And kept, and I just have this giant sloth in my room, and he's my favorite cuddle buddy. I know that sounds so weird, but like I love him, and I have a little piggy. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because we had like, at least my family had the first year with like kids again, because like my brother and my cousins all had or at least not all of them, but a bunch of them had, there's like 3 or 4 kids now, and like they're opening presents in the morning again. Like for a couple years it was getting a little quiet. It was like we just we were done by 11. It was like one of those things like the holidays, but it's like totally like for kids. Like Christmas is like, it's more fun with kids around because they're having fun and they're opening things, and
sweet innocence.
it's very and there's part of me that was like, oh, it's not as fun when there's not, like they're not my kids, but still fun because they're like, but they're still at that age where it's like they don't really know what's going on. Like they just see a toy get put in front of them, they're like, oh sweet, and then I'm just like, I got that for you. Yeah. Over here, me.
You're welcome.
Like, you're welcome. But there's. Do
you know how many hours it took me?
How many hours it took me to find that?
How many hours to find it, and how many hours of work I put in to afford it? You are not being very.
That's that innocence. Oh yeah, when they just like toss it and walk away, I'm like, okay, well, I thought it was cute. No, I mean like just the fact that like, you have that, excitement, and it's cute. It's a cute. I think the next few years will be more fun.
I think so too.
They just need to cross that threshold into like the Legos and stuff. Like once they cross into like where they're not going to eat it, like they're still too young. So like a lot of the gifts are kind of like, oh, here's a stuffed animal. Here's
Yes, I see what you mean. No, that's true. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I've been thinking about just kids in general, and like I obviously
wanting one.
I mean, I 100% want kids. Like I'm willing to go to 3.
To 3.
Yes.
Yeah. Like 3 girls, like a.
There's gotta be a mix.
I
want a son.
Oh, son.
I want a daughter too, but I want a son.
Interesting.
I'm gonna raise that boy right, and he's gonna be. I really want a son and a daughter. I'd love for, just so I can have. I mean, yeah, I want kids for sure. But the more I start thinking about it, I remember when I was a kid, my timeline was at 27. I wanted my first kid.
Yeah.
Can't even hold a relationship, so that's not gonna happen. And then the second thought that comes to mind is
you're 24.
Yes.
And
I wanted
one
one by 27. But
That's
this is
possible.
This is
3 years.
You need to meet them like today, and then
I need to meet them.
And then within you would have a kid within
Just put on Tinder,
2 years.
Like, you need to have a kid in 3 years.
Yeah, you'd be. You got to get that first year in.
I gotta get myself figured first, though.
True.
I'm not even about relationship. I mean, I feel like I'm still a child. I'm still dependent on my mom for things. Like I'm just learning. If I'm gonna bring a kid in, I want to be able to provide him or her with
stability. And,
at
yeah,
least.
that's
You
how
know
I
what I
feel.
mean? Like I don't think it's personally. I don't want to bring a child into this, especially into this chaotic world, until
Right.
at least there's a little bit of safety.
For you, you can kind of
just
control
make
it,
sure I
yeah.
can control a bit and stuff. But also, it's terrifying. But what I was trying to get to is, you mentioned like the Legos that they can eat when they're kids. It's terrifying.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
in charge
Everything.
of a human, and it just started hitting me more and more.
Baby-proofing your apartment or your house.
Not being able to drink for 9 months. It's not gonna be that hard, but it's gonna.
Give it a couple more years, because every like 20 or so years they change their mind on that, because it wasn't like this. We were watching something that was like based in the 70s, and she was like drinking and she's pregnant, and I just was like, oh boy.
A glass of
Like
a day.
back
keeps
in the
doctors
day,
away, sorry.
back in the day, it's like they would drink and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think it's overkill. I think it's when you're like overdoing it.
Yeah, you can have. Okay, I feel like
I think
you
think
can have
that
like
they say-
occasional sushi, occasional coffee,
Yeah.
occasional glass of
Yeah.
wine.
Even,
I'm like,
even with sushi now, I
Yeah.
think you're supposed to be careful. I think
Oh.
I think in general, even like when you're not pregnant, just regular people, like things like that, like in moderation, because of like of the like all the stuff in it. And
I had to
the
stop
mercury and everything. And
from June to July or sometime this past summer, I was on a tuna hunt. I was just
every day.
eating.
Were you pregnant?
No.
It sounds like a.
But there were moments where I was wondering, but I'm weird. I get the weirdest craving. I get munchies craving when I'm sober.
When you're sober.
Yes. I get those
I do that
emotional
too.
stress.
I get that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
your
It depends. It depends. I mean, it could be those cream cheese rangoons from Panda Express. It can be those little cream cheese like crunchy things that you can eat. There's like there's times when I'm just like, I want that so bad.
I'm gonna get sushi today, I think. That's
Like,
decided.
there'll be like for some reason in my brain, like even when I'm like eating well and I'm like if it's like a Friday, like in my brain there's some kind of like
It's
childish
Friday.
thing where I'm just like, oh, today's like a like, and then Saturday too, it's
But
like
we have the freedom to do what we
Yeah.
want. But then that also means
it's not
a
good.
week later you look at you're like,
Consequences.
It's not good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alex,
Not good.
time I just like started cooking again in the last 2 weeks. I was like, girl, you gotta no.
Yeah.
Even time to get a little healthy.
It's one of those things where it's like really not. It's like great that we have access to all this stuff, and we're in a country that has the wealth to have options and things like that, and I am very fine with that. But it's not good to have everything you want at your fingertips all the time.
No.
Like just for your
No.
like, it's like a weird thing.
It's weird.
I don't
It's
think
freedom.
you're supposed to. I feel like we're. Remember WALL-E, that movie with like the future people?
Yes.
We're all like fat, and I feel like we're going that direction. Like we're like with the screens and with the food and with the like
You
the
might know.
soda and the like everything. It's just like we're kind of like becoming like this.
People don't walk anymore.
No.
People don't even walk now. It's all motorized, right?
The little
Like
like,
the-
Or
the
like just
scooter.
everything,
Mopeds.
like everything.
Yeah.
Like everything. I have a friend. It's really cool. Don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah.
I know people who have like the one wheels or the whatever all these devices are, and they're super cool. Don't
I
get
could
me
never
wrong.
do those. Yeah.
I
one wheel
tried.
one.
Oh, the one wheel. Let me tell you.
It's like the hoverboard thing.
The one wheel is the one that has like a wheel,
Yeah, in the
and then it's
middle.
got a
Yeah.
plank, and then you
Yeah,
go. I've tried
that's-
it.
I mean-
it's really fun. It's really fun, but it's also terrifying. And
I'd
you
die.
know, people going like
No, they go. They're
Yeah.
like, they're
on-
going fast, and they're going on all
up
kind
and
of
down
crazy
on all
uppy
types
down.
of trails, and
out of their mind.
It's insane to me, but it's just like now, yeah, and also kids now. I mean, a 3-year-old can work a phone better than I
Oh,
ever
yeah.
could have when I was younger. You know what I
No,
mean?
both the 2-year-old. I think well, no, they're not 2. One of them's 2, and one of them's like 1.5 or almost 1, or I can't remember. But like they were playing with the phones, and they were like grabbing it, and like and they weren't like, it wasn't hooked up or anything. I think with the one phone one of them was playing with wasn't like actually like, it was just on. It didn't have any like internet or anything. But like she was like navigating it and finding the camera and stuff, and I'm just like, this is scary. Like this is kind of like a, this is weird.
It's
you know?
just kids don't. Oh God, I don't mean to sound like kids don't do this anymore these days, but I don't know. When I was growing up, I had a flip flip phone. You know, it had the keyboard
Yeah,
and the phone, and
like a razor.
you know,
Yeah.
it was mine was I forget what it was called, but kind of along
Yeah.
the lines.
Yeah.
And my friends and I, we would play teacher. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, one would be the teacher, we'd be students. We'd literally give each other assignments to do. Like we were doing homework
Yeah,
essentially.
you guys were weird.
I know,
Yeah.
right? But then we would also I know.
guys were
Looking
like-
back on it, I'm like, what? But like my friend and I, one of my best childhood friends, we would get up in the morning and build like an igloo
Yeah.
out of, you know, chairs and stuff. I mean, we were just doing things, the American Girls at some
Yeah.
point. Like we were actually interacting with one another and not just on phones. And I'm like, with my job, but you guys know this
Yeah.
too, we're always being stimulated because we always have to be on social media, on our texts, on our
Yeah.
phone calls, on our emails. And like there have been so many times I almost forget my phone in a store or something because I'm so overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's why everyone should take, I haven't done this in months, so I should take my own advice. Everyone should take like at least one weekend or day a month to be like shut off and go to nature.
Yeah.
Actually go to nature.
If you have the ability to do it,
If
like
you-
that's
if you
that's
can.
like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like it's like at my stage in my career now, or where I'm at now, I have more freedom to do certain things, like, and things like that. But like I could imagine, like, if I was really successful, like just taking a month off and being like goodbye, like,
Oh
you know,
no, you can't.
you
Well,
know,
that's why you do it, even
what,
if
you
it's
know.
a day.
yeah, right.
But even then, trust me, like I get so. When I would do my hikes, I used to go on like 7-hour
There's like a
hikes.
detox to it, though. Like
It's a detox.
you start looking for it.
But you gotta let people know before you do it, which
Yeah.
is kind of frustrating because it defeats the purpose, you
it's
know.
true. You
but
have to announce it almost.
but it is a detox once you allow yourself to. It feels really good. Well, I don't. Again, with our jobs, for example, it's different. Like we do need to be, you know, on with technology all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't think humans should be programmed to constantly be like. I know that a lot of my anxiety, I've been trying to train myself not to go instantly to Instagram in the morning. You know, like
Yeah.
my first thing when I wake up is I check my phone and I go
Yeah.
to Instagram. And you just,
I gave it up one year for Lent for like I don't know, I think like it's been a while, so I think it was like a couple months, and I just remember it being like really weird for the first week or so. Like you instinctually go to that folder in your phone, and it's like I removed it altogether. Like I just took it off.
So
And
you're just-
I'm just like, it was this weird, like I just would go and I'd find myself looking for it. I'm like, what
Then
am I
you
doing?
remember you deleted it.
What am I doing? Like what's wrong with
Yeah.
me? And it's like you're programmed, like it's got you on this, like, you know, system. You're just going to look for it and going to scroll and then going back, and
it's too much. My brain hurts
Yeah.
after all of it. Sometimes I literally feel suffocated.
So when you were in school, or I'm sorry, when you left school, you got a job with Vulcan? Was that your first thing?
Yeah, so here's what happened. Alec and
Yeah.
Steph, they're married and they own the magazines
So they own
Bello.
Vulcan, Bello.
and Tilted Style.
So it's like this conglomerate of magazines.
Yes, we're under the Bello Media Group umbrella.
Okay, right.
But we also partner with Maison Privée PR and Showroom.
Right. So say that again, because every time I read it, I'm always mispronouncing it. Say it again.
Oh, I got it. All of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Bello Media Group, which
Uh-huh.
is an umbrella that encompasses or is over. See, sorry, my English sometimes, I don't know if I use the right terms or not, but you guys get my point.
It's Bello, Vulcan,
Bello,
and
Vulcan,
what was
and
the
Tilted
name?
Style.
Tilted Style.
And then we work
And say
with,
into the mic that the showroom's name again, just the way in the French accent, the way she said it. Just say it.
Okay, it's a Maison Privée,
I can
Fashion
never
PR,
say
and Showroom.
Every time I read it, I'm always like, I have that like
Maison,
The showroom.
the clunky,
You
yeah,
said
like that
the
the
super
French
clunky,
showroom.
the
Just
French
showroom. No, Maison Privée, which means literally your private house.
Yeah.
Little, and so Alec and Steph, I actually met them through my mom when I was 16, and I
Oh, okay.
really wanted to be a photographer at that time.
Really?
So he was showing me a bit how they did it, and they were like, okay, like, you know, like let's talk in a few years when you're done with high school and all
Right.
that. And I was ending my second semester of my junior year of college, gonna go for summer, and you know, I started telling myself I should probably find an internship for the summer because I'm graduating in a year and I have no idea what I'm going to do when I graduate. And they came back into my mind, and I was walking down in Beverly Hills one night going to dinner, and who do I run into? Alec and Steph. And we go, oh, hi, how are you, da-da-da. And they, you know, he looks at me and he goes, well, I was actually going to reach out to you. Are you still into photography? And I said, well, I'm into writing now. And he said, okay, well, come by the showroom, you know, explain to me briefly about Alexandra and Tanya and all of them there. At the time, there was also Ed, he's a publicist. So we had I've worked with many different people and worn different hats. And I did the internship, and then by the end of it, Alec was like, all right, well, we'll see you in a year. Finish your, focus on your studies, get your degree, graduate, and we'll see you in a year. And I started a week after graduation.
Very cool.
So that's kind of how I got to that world.
Yeah, they've got a really cool setup going, like with between the different magazines, the showroom. And for people who don't know what a showroom is, it's like where you have all the clothes from this season for photo shoots or for
carpets,
red
music
carpet
videos.
Usually when a celebrity is on a red carpet, they don't buy the clothes that they are wearing, because usually they're on loan. So they're basically buying, they're not buying them. They're being put on the celebrity for
by
PR
stylists
and for
so
buzz, and then that's by a stylist who's usually being paid by the celebrity. So it's it's this kind of way of getting your clothes on. If you're a designer or you're whatever you do, there's that kind of
it's placement. That's the word.
Yeah,
placements.
You're putting it on them so that people see it.
Yeah,
that's why you always hear people talking about the dresses, I'm wearing
because they want, now it's getting tagged. Well, that's why also, because with the showrooms, to add, designers pay the showroom, and what they're paying them is for the showroom, fashion PR and showroom, to then make sure all of this happens.
Yeah.
Pieces. So I know depending on the designers, they'll have different criterias. They'll have different, some designers say only red carpet for this type of talent. We're aiming for this more. And then, everyone kind of has, it's really beautiful to see just how every single, whether it's movies or television or red carpet events or performances, all the different people involved.
There's so many involved.
It just keeps, imagine.
It's crazy.
It starts with the designer, right? It starts with the designer who
even further back, it starts with the people making
the people making the clothes,
the textiles and stuff. Then it goes to the designer.
Then it goes to I feel like there's a middle person, then a showroom or whatever, a store, and it's
then to
crazy.
A stylist, then to the talent,
to the talent,
then to. After that, then those images and everything goes out to the PR people. That goes out to
the
you,
publications.
basically. So and then
it goes to social media, and then you send, and it's and don't forget the managers. They also get involved, especially with artists. You have a lot of managers. Yes,
it's crazy, and there's a lot of people involved, and there's a lot of It's different when you have a big celebrity, because a lot of the times they're friends with the designer, so they'll wear Versace, but that's from that's from Donatella, or that's from someone, when it's like Jennifer or something, Jennifer Lopez or someone like that. But when it's like someone smaller, or you're coming up, in you're an actor, or you're not as well known, there's this whole system it goes through. It's really crazy.
It's crazy. I've seen people come with their moms. I've seen people come, you know what I mean? I love it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Everyone just, and I'm gonna toot our own horn here, but I do feel I'm very grateful, because everyone I work with, we have that kind of European openness. We're not super tight people who are, just very, you have to do this, and if this doesn't get done, we try to keep it fun, because the whole point is overall for people to have fun at the end of the day. Talent, they have many people making decisions and helping them make decisions, but at the end of the day, it is ultimately them who needs to feel the best. So I know it's a little bit of a it could come off as a stretch of my little segue here, but it just shows in all, whether it's this industry or any industry, that I think people, and kind of going back to like the whole our world of technology and the way like things are evolving, I think people really forget that we're just individuals with feelings and past. I feel like now the good thing is, for example, TikTok has a lot of those. I've seen like a lot of those people. I mean, TikTok has helped me, like some people posting videos like for mental health, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
all that. But just this, what you're talking about, that stems from people forgetting that someone is not just this talent, you know, who's gonna do what you say blindly and
Yeah.
whatever. They're a human with feelings, and
Yeah.
you got to factor that in. And I feel like with all these different layers are things that people, like I said, this was a pretty big segue, but I feel like it's important to just be aware that whatever industry you're working in, especially in our industry where it's all about beauty and fashion and lifestyle and what you do and what you eat and how you look, and because unfortunately that is still a big thing.
It's a huge thing, and then like the definition of beauty has changed.
It really is. And also beauty is just, it's different.
Yeah.
Like it just takes
It's different to everyone.
Take the
It's subjective
simple,
to everybody.
The simple thing, I'm out with my friends. Oh, he's so hot.
Really?
And then what?
You know, exactly.
What?
Yeah.
And then vice versa.
Yeah,
and
the
it's
opposite.
just,
There's gonna be people over here who are upset that like, you know, like, oh well, you know, I don't like that type. It's like, well, it's not for you then.
well, I mean,
There you go.
I have
It's the solution.
I have a personal example with that. I get a lot of pitches from like, I guess in a way they're like showroom fashion PRs as well. And,
Yeah.
you know, they'll be like sending me these different brands, and I write articles, and then they send me like a piece of clothing from them. And there was this one brand, I'm totally spacing on the name, but I was on the website and I could tell right away. I was like, okay, this is for tiny, tiny waist people, right?
Right,
Like I knew
right.
it deep down, and I was like, okay. I was like, I'm gonna still pick, you know, and I picked for something. Don't get me wrong, the oversized button-down dress look is great. The corset, it was like a medium. I'm
Yeah.
a medium. The corset
Like,
was
just like-
right.
just-
Here.
Oh,
It couldn't
oh.
even get. And then I had one of my friends, like I had one of my more petite friends try it. She couldn't even get it fully, and I
Yeah.
was like, but you know, I remember making the note when I was looking at the website. I was thinking, okay,
It's probably gonna run small.
this
Yeah.
may or may not work. And
Yeah.
you know, the thing is, if a brand wants to cater to one type
Yeah.
of body type,
Yeah.
or I mean, I think it would be nice to include at times, but in this case it's just,
Yeah.
you know, it was a bit different, but I wasn't upset about it. I was
Sometimes
like,
I think initially, sometimes they can't because there's only so much you can do with like a wide range. Now sizing and stuff is different, but like I get why they might have a really dark shade, a really light shade, and then a kind of in between, and they don't have like every single shade of makeup in between, because like it's expensive to make, and you have to. It's like when they expand, they start to release more. I get that, like, and but then on the flip side, like, you know, to me, it just, as a person who's like a business person now, it's like it's an untapped market. If there's not a lot of people, you know, with like this skin tone on this type of product, or this type of waist size, or this type of, like, there's probably someone out there who's like, I wish I could wear something like that, but it doesn't fit me. So like it's an opportunity.
yeah, that's
you
what
know.
you got to figure out. And I'm sure that's what, I mean, I'm assuming that's
You'd
what
think
they
they would
do,
do, but
right?
yeah.
I would assume brands of anything,
Yeah.
cosmetics, clothes, they would assume that they would be looking at their, you know, customers
Yeah.
a little bit and understanding, because again, it comes down to, as long as it's, you know, a brand isn't purposefully excluding,
Exactly.
you know, and
yeah.
it's obvious
Yeah.
that they are, because at the end of the day, I mean, you know, if you're I don't know, if you're an antique shop, you're gonna sell antiques, you're not gonna sell Nike sneakers,
Right.
you know.
right,
So
right,
if
right.
you going in with a purpose, as long as there's always
like,
respect,
for me, if it doesn't
and-
have some kind of degree of stretch in it, I can't wear it, or I don't wear it. Like, I don't fit into things that are skinny.
There's nothing
I don't
wrong though
fit.
with having, like, you can be thin. There's Japanese people like really
That's what I
like
mean,
being
yeah.
thin, and some
So-
of their clothes are really like small, and they have to be because their demographic is tiny.
Yeah,
so
no,
for
that's-
them to make an extra large is actually financially responsible.
That's what I'm saying. Is like in a situation where, like, you know, there's a certain amount of money you have to put up a certain product, to put up a certain thing. like especially when they're starting. Like, yeah, there's certain things that you can only do. Like, there's only certain things that you can do initially.
Yep.
But I think that, like, when it comes to your marketing, like, when you're putting things out there, at least for us, like, as long as you're not, it's a really difficult subject, because it's like, on the one hand, it's like you should just be marketing to your clientele, right? But on the other hand, you also, as a business person, should be looking for more clientele, more of to include more people in that umbrella, and still keep the brand identity intact. So if your brand is about, denim and whatever, there's all types of people can wear that. It's just you need to expand as you go.
Mm-hmm.
So when you initially come out, you might be catering to this. Then as you expand, you go to here and here and here. It's like, that's all normal. I think when people get upset, and I think like it tends to be more directed at like the Abercrombie type controversy when the CEO was like, I don't want these people wearing my clothes. Like that's where
That's what
it's
I
for
mean
me when it flips into being like, okay, now you're just attacking people.
No,
for no
now you're
reason.
just purposefully doing.
Right.
And I've been noticing. I've been noticing like all the billboards and things. You can see that there's a there's a lot of progress being made. And it's just like with everything, it's finding that balance. As long as there's just respect, and you're doing what you're doing without trying to exclude anyone purposefully, like this example.
Especially this particular industry has been pretty ruthless to people. I mean, just in general, it's like the fashion industry is horrendous.
No, it's terrible. But I feel like now, especially with like the different artists who have come out like in the last few years, who are becoming these role models. They're not, growing up, it was always you want to be the skinny bitch. You want to be and now when I'm scrolling, I'm seeing way more on the opposite, where it's like thick and and it just helps to show like
it's gonna eventually there's gonna be something else. Like because like in the 90s was like that thin.
I mean, every different decade had something
every
different.
decade has that look. The 60s was really thick, so it just comes and goes.
Marilyn
I think
Monroe would have been like a plus size model,
like
for this day and age, and she was like the icon back in her time.
Oh my God,
she was like there's pictures of her that I've seen before where I'm like, oh my God, like she really would be like today considered that.
She had a little body.
But then you had like the 80s and 90s with like that classic fashion, which was like it's a cool
pants,
era in itself,
tank
but
top.
but like they were like just like rail thin, and like they looked like hangers for the clothes. Like it was just like they were just like bone, and like it was crazy. And then like they kind of it shifted back. Now it's back to like being like thicker and bigger, and
now being
and I have a feeling they'll
keep
find something
evolving.
else they want to do in 10-20 years too.
The thing is, like, how do I explain this? It's like it's really cool to see all these changes and all these, but it's like at the end of the day, I mean, I personally don't look at someone for. I mean, I'll look at them, and I love seeing how they dress, what they do, but that's not going to be a deciding factor.
Oh yeah, no, I don't
of
care
anything.
At all. Look at me, like nothing. People's tastes never stay the same.
No, it's really
makeup and eyelashes
wild
and eyebrows. Everything changes. The size, how much you.
Everything's
crazy.
always changing. I see it like even just because when I produce all the photo shoots, I get really involved. I'll help the photographer. I'll help the stylist. Obviously, I'm not the one telling the stylist what to do because that's not my job.
Yeah,
and,
right.
They are so talented. Like everyone we work with, anyways, is so kind and talented.
Yeah.
Every single one of them: hair, makeup, grooming, styling, photography, assistants, all of them. But yeah, it's really cool seeing just how with clothing, and also seeing people's reactions to them sometimes. And just it's really cool seeing how much it's crazy how clothing can represent just so much.
It does, and
to a certain you know what I mean?
It represents a lot of expression for people.
A lot. I mean, that's a lot of the interviews I do. That's a reoccurring theme. I like to ask a lot, like, what does beauty mean to you, and like, all that. Just because I feel like it's important to keep those conversations going, just to always hear like what people have to say, and yeah, it's always they're always super cool, deep answers, and I'm like, oh. Nice.
This
I
is
love
something
this.
that I would have thought, but yeah.
But
this is,
you know,
yeah.
this is a cool perspective to
Yeah.
have. It's
No,
a-
I mean, like, that's like a cool. I always thought that was like a cool job that you had, was being able to interview each person. That
I appreciate
do you
that.
do you do every issue?
Yeah,
So
so
when you
some
guys
of the
have-
interviews are done like via
Virtually?
like email
Mhm.
or Zoom, especially with COVID and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that. That was kind of the thing. So a lot of them, some of them are done via email, or some of them are done over Zoom, and it's fun, you know. Especially when I get to, like, if I'm gonna do these email interviews where it's just question answers, what I love is I get to know the person the day of the shoot.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
then I kind of tailor questions to that,
Mm.
you know, about what they're doing and all that, but kind of like you guys were saying, like going in a little deeper and getting to know someone a little more in depth.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do, and it's fun. It's really, it's just really crazy because sometimes you expect someone to be a certain way, and then they're not, and then they're actually opposite, which is not necessarily a bad thing, you know. And
Yeah.
it's just they have so many different things. Like we did 2 photo shoots with these 2 upcoming actor and actress from the show La Brea.
Yeah.
And hearing
Which
them
one?
speak, we Zyra, well, the brother and sister.
I don't know the characters' names.
Zyra. Wait, you only know the
I know
character?
I know the actor name.
Yeah, Zyra Gorecki.
Okay.
Gorecki, and
She gotta look up the next one. I know I know Jack Martin.
Oui, voilà, merci.
He's so
Jack
funny.
Martin. That's what I was
He's
thinking.
like-
That was the name.
He's the most.
My brain
he's
has so many names.
Fucking entertaining.
They're so, but they were
His-
so
His
nice.
Instagram is like, if I like, I just was like, it's his or his. I don't know. I think he has a TikTok too, but like, he's so funny.
Oh no, but he's so he's so funny. Sorry, Jack, if you ever hear this, I didn't mean to
She
forget your
completely
name.
forgot who you were.
No, I'm like, I have
And
so
she tried
many.
to pass it off. The way she tried to pass it off was, no, they're siblings in the show. And I'm like, yeah, but what was the actor's name? And she goes, the siblings in the show. It was the
No,
siblings.
with the amount of people, like, do you know how many
Yeah,
names?
yeah. You're more of a face person.
You remembered the really complicated name.
Yeah,
And you-
I know.
but Jack Martin.
But Jack Martin, I could. No, it's
was
so
the
bad. I'm
best
like
too.
dealing with so many names on a
That's so
daily
funny.
basis with this job, which I love. But sometimes I'm just like, and again, exhaustion.
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
anyways, the point is, they were both, like, for example, getting to meet them and working with them was so cool because they had kind of, you know, they're really, I mean, they've already been acting and on social media, but this was like, I think, one of their real first, you know, actual, like, they were leads in the show and things like that.
A breakout role.
Breakout role, kind of, at least that's, you know,
A working,
something
sustainable thing.
and
yeah.
it was so cool seeing like Zyra's face would light up, like the way she was talking, and it's like you can see the beginning. And then we've done shoots with Leslie Grossman from American Horror Story.
I love her too.
And you know, her take on how she was speaking, and you could tell she's been in the industry for a few years, and it's just so cool being able to hear and see how these different talent, and you know, we've done also NBA, NFL players. I mean, we've like kind of been branching out to getting to know all these different people, and it's just really fun, especially when you see some people that you don't expect to be super into fashion, and they get there and they're like, put me in the weirdest look possible. And you go, okay. Sounds like
good.
a plan. Let's do it.
Yeah, sounds
like,
good.
are you open to shirtless? No?
Yeah.
Yes?
Maybe.
Are you sure that's a no? Are you 100% sure? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Do you feel, Alex, like your writing has to change as time goes on? Like, I know you said that you wrote your first like big paper on, you know, like surviving abuse. I had a couple questions on that. Basically, did you go into it basically hoping it was more like a therapy session for you? And then also, did you find yourself like feeling like, you said you had to go into details, so like maybe you had to do some research on the guys, like maybe they had abusive parents, or because you yourself were a victim. So do you find yourself hard to kind of have to be like unbiased and be like, or do you just feel like you have to go kind of speak for the survivor and kind of be their voice and their champion versus kind of giving like more of a bigger picture? Because I'll read things and I'll be like, well, what about the guy? Like, what, you know, there's two sides, and a lot of times it's like a biased thing. And so, like I said, once you went into it, you were like, did you go kind of feeling like, all right, I can relate to them, so it's gonna be kind of like therapy for both of us. And then also, like, did you find like it hard to not be like so biased because it was so personal?
Well, I think two things. One, yes, I did go in with these women are being put in jail unfairly, you know, all this. And I think the fact that whoever helped me pinpoint more about incarcerated women helped to disassociate a little bit, since I obviously have never been arrested.
Yeah.
That you guys know of. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I know.
But yeah, no, I did go into it ready to write something that was, I was trying to stay, I like to try and stay balanced and neutral, and a lot like devil's advocate a lot of times, just because I like to give a broader perspective on things. But I did originally go in being like, oh yeah, this is going to be like, fuck all the men. I'm going to, but the more I started doing research and I was opening up, because that's something else so important, which I will not, like, I'm going to keep stressing on, like, people need to listen and communicate, because just in the last 6 months, I've learned so much more about things with better understanding.
What do you mean?
Just our perspectives on things that we've had years ago. When you listen, you talk to people, you start hearing other perspectives. And for me, it's helped me either mold, completely change, or adapt my perspective a little more. So in terms of this paper that I did, the more I started talking, to these different women and some men too, and I never actually got a hold of, that's actually, I kind of wish I had even thought about that. But actually, no, if he was an abuser, I probably wouldn't want to reach out to the guy. But the more I was talking to them, like, one of the women I interviewed, I believed her story. I wanted to, but there were instances, I was recording it and I re-listened to, I was trying to like
it
really.
Didn't quite add up, or didn't.
It didn't add up now, and I would like really dug in, and I realized,
Is that why she's in jail?
she was out of jail at this point.
Oh, at this point, she's out of
she was
jail,
out.
okay.
But I'm not saying that I couldn't know the full truth, but I could tell. And unfortunately, I don't even think I put her in the story, because I was like, I don't have 100, like even 95% proof that, so that also allowed me to show that it really is not just black and white. And so the more I was getting into it, the more I was talking to people, getting from sources, even women who were helping these women, they said, yeah, sometimes unfortunately, someone can have a mental illness, or it's again, it's very complicated and different, not even complicated, just different for people. But the more I was making these discoveries, the more I was removing myself from the situation. And so I was able to kind of relate to it, but I also tried to keep it at bay, because I really wanted to get the facts. I also would have failed the class if I wasn't getting facts.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
You need to source everything.
So that was learning. But then when I do writing for the magazines, it's a little different, because it's not as heavy. It's more.
Do you feel like there's like, because like obviously when you're dealing with that kind of situation where it's someone who's dealing with jail time, or they're dealing with like a tragedy or some kind of violence or abuse or crime, like obviously there's more stakes for them to maybe embellish something or make it seem, like when you're on either side of it, it doesn't, matter who it is, they might try to make themselves look better, or that's kind of, you have to like source those things and find those things out.
You have to source.
Do you feel like when you're asking questions of like people you don't know for your job now, do you feel like you get like an honest answer, or do you feel like are you always ever wondering, is this 100% how it happened?
I think, again, because with my job it's a lot lighter than it is with like like in this case, this story I had chosen to write about, which was abused women, incarcerated women with a history of abuse and all that. That's a little heavier. But with this job, it's a little more lighthearted, fun. There's not really any
There's no reason.
There's no invest. But I will say sometimes I get answers, or sometimes the way they talk, I'm like I remember this one person that we interviewed, that I interviewed, who was one of our covers. It was you could tell that he wanted, like, he almost felt like he was on script, where he was really sticking to love, football, religion, family, and not really exiting out
Staying
of
in
that.
the lines,
And
yeah.
that's probably his, like, how he lives his life. But there was something in his voice, I could tell that it almost sounded a little bit rehearsed.
Like scripted.
A little
Yeah.
bit, which I understand, because I was a publicist as well when I started with Bello. I was also doing publicist work, and I know what it is, when you're trying to explain to your client how to do that. But actually, most people that I interview, whether it's email or on Zoom, are very, very open, very authentic. I feel like maybe, like, people tend to be comfortable talking to me as well. So maybe that helps. And I also never go in with the intention of asking I'm not here to gossip,
Right.
for example. So
Right.
because we keep things, again, it's more about music, movies, and then that's where I try to segue into questions about what beauty means to them, or what they think is happening. Like, what do they think the world needs more of right now? Just trying to segue into that. And a lot of times it's pretty sincere what they say. So I feel very lucky to see that. Because again, I don't come at people in a threat. I'm not here to gossip. I'm not
You're not
I'm
like a
not
tabloid
E-News,
reporter.
I'm
Yeah,
not- I'm not-
trick them into admitting something.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I mean, no offense, I could care less if they had an affair with someone,
Yeah.
or whatever.
That's how I feel, yeah.
Whatever those big tabloid, news stories are. I'm here to just come have a great photo shoot with us, try on some fun clothes, get your picture taken,
Yeah.
open up a little bit, tell us who you are, and what I always hope for, and I've seen it be kind of work in that direction, is a lot of these the talent in general, whatever it is they do, a lot of them have, they work for charities, or they have these, like, they're using their platform for the greater good. And so I feel like whenever I'm interviewing them, I try, if I know of this, I'll always bring it up and try to get to know more about it. Because then it's really turning into not just, oh my goodness, hi, you're famous, so tell me about your fashion
Right,
and your
right.
life. It's, oh, so, what are your takes on this? And then, I would like to hope that when people read about, when they read my interviews and my cover stories and all that, I would like to hope that then people go and check out what's being mentioned, because there's
And
really
you also
cool
have
things.
to probably come, because it's very similar for us on our side, like on the photography and the production side. Like, you can't come at it from as like a fan. Like, so if you do, there's a certain type of person that is set out for that kind of interaction, and that kind of work with like talent and celebrities and musicians and rock stars and whoever else it is,
Yes.
because you can't approach them like you're a fan, even if you are.
Yeah,
And,
no,
and
you.
at least for me, like, there's very few people that I would be like, oh, like, I was like, nice to meet. Like, there's been people I've met before where I'm like, oh, that's cool, and then it's like, oh, that's that's someone huge.
I'm the
And
same
you
way.
have to have that mentality, though, because it feels like if you're approaching them from like a regular just perspective, like they instantaneously kind of put you in the
Yeah.
fan box, and
And
then they're
also-
answering questions as if you're like
Yeah.
a fan.
And also, I'm gonna come off maybe sassy, but I'm not trying to be. But like, I really don't care
Right.
who you are, if you're famous, if you're. I really do not care about your title.
Right.
Like I was lucky enough to meet, like, there's been a few people where I'm like, hey, like, I just want to let you know, like, I'm a big fan of your
Yeah.
music or something, but that, like, fangirl type, I think I can thank, my mom and my stepdad especially, because I mean, when I was 10 years old, I got a tour of the Playboy Mansion in my high school, not high school, in my, whatever year, at 10 years old, what was I can't.
Junior high or
Middle
No,
school?
that was,
younger.
oh,
10 is middle school.
it was like fifth,
Sixth
Fifth
grade,
grade?
probably sixth grade. Had to have been sixth grade. If you were 10
yeah, give or take. Anyways,
or so.
went to Playboy and got a tour because my stepdad was doing like the hair. And I met the Pussycat Dolls when I was a kid too.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
I've grown up. I have friends whose parents are maybe not here as much, but in like France are. I've grown up around that, and I'm grateful for it, because I'm really unfazed by, just in general. I don't care if you have a bunch of money, or clout.
Followers.
Right.
I mean, I really, really do not care as long as I. Okay, let me give you a kind of something to think about. I was a few years ago. My cousin was visiting from France, and we were sitting. I swear, it loops around.
Yeah.
We were at the beach, and we were on the facing the ocean on the left side of the Santa Monica Pier. And I don't know if you've been there at night, but when it lights up and people are walking from the pier towards you, you can't see them.
You're right.
Right?
Backlit.
And I remember, I think I was a little drunk too, so I was really enlightened. And I remember I saw them coming, walking, and I just had this thought, imagine if we lived in a world where when you first started to meet people, you couldn't see, all you could see was this angelic light around them, and all you could do was hear what they had to say. And I feel like that's just for everything, and a lot of things we've talked about today, it stems from, first of all, before we get to the beauty and looks and all of that, stem from hearing the person. Because imagine a world where you just heard what someone had to say instead of judging them on how they look, and then you can work your way up from that. So
No, that was kind of the whole reason why I even wanted to do this, was because I was getting a little tired of the surface stuff.
I love that.
It just became it was everything was just about the image and the way it looked, and I that's why I'm pairing this kind of as the pre-conversation that we always have with the talent before we do a photo shoot, but instead of it being someone that it's a job, it's someone that I actually am really interested in listening to and hearing their perspective and whatever.
I love that. I feel so honored, by the way.
Yeah, no,
just
of course,
so happy to
no.
be here with you guys and to meet you too in person.
There's just that kind of, it's a little bit more in depth.
I love this. We could have conversations like this all the time.
We do all the time. We have years of conversations like this, and some, with whether it's with clients or just with each other, where I'm if only someone was recording that, because it was just there's kind of those situations, but it's it's better late than never. But it's one of those things where especially when we work in it, you get so tired of the surface stuff.
Oh yeah.
So how do you when you go to talk to someone? 'Cause, I mean, you have to probably walk a line between asking questions that are too personal.
Yeah. Does the magazine give you a set of questions? Are you allowed to it's
No,
all you?
I
There's no guideline. There's
no.
no maybe there's a theme if it's June or it's
So I'll do that sometimes,
Yeah.
or based on what the project. So if they're doing a thriller, I'll go into the questions of, so what's one of your deepest fears from your childhood? And
But you base it
and,
around what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and also I'm not that I'm psychic or anything, but I get these hunches sometimes when I'm writing. I just feel the questions. The only thing that I discuss with my boss is that we're not a gossip column.
Right.
We're not here to gossip or bash someone, or even a hotel, or a hotel that I'm writing about. I really, I keep it honest and real, but I go in with the intent of, shedding a light on certain things, not negative things.
Yeah.
Also, our readers, Bello, I know has a mix, but it's a bit, there's also younger readers. So, I'm not going to start writing about any freaking sex scandals.
Yeah. Right.
Or things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's always been an interesting thing to me, because there's interviewers who, you see them sometimes when they ask questions, and I'm probably guilty of it too at this point. I'm doing this, but you're kind of watching it, going like wanting to hear more from these people, or ask a different question, or go a different direction.
Oh yeah.
And how do you figure out how you want to approach it? Do you just, each one is just individual?
So,
do you have a process? Do you
ever get writer's block too? And how do you tackle that? But
I do. And I do. Okay. I got them. Don't worry. They're noted,
Yeah.
the questions. I
Gotcha.
got it. So we'll start
Don't
here.
overwhelm her with them.
No,
I know, but
I
I'm
got
like,
this.
but-
No, I
'cause
got
like
this.
diving deeper.
I love it. No, trust me. I'm ready. So let's see. One, in terms of how I approach it, I'll take, first of all, meeting them always helps. But even before, when I'm looking over, I do a little bit of research. I look at what they're doing. Sometimes it's I'll go through their Instagram to see who they tagged a photo with, and it'll bring me maybe to a brand or to, you know, or
Right.
to something. I just try to get to know them a little bit. And then I get a feel for them when I meet them. And again, I don't know how to explain it, but I get hunches. Like I get these hunches when I'm you know, even before meeting them on set. It's like I know what to say a lot of times. I can't explain it. I've had this my whole life with different things. So that's how I kind of approach it. It's all different. And then, you know, for email, like when we do it like over email, which sometimes is quicker and easier, especially like the inside covers or more question answer, those ones I'll just kind of take a moment, read over. Sometimes I'll give myself a break, you know, send it out. I usually also ask if they have anything specific that they want, as in when I say that, it's, you know, if there's anything else that they like. And sometimes I've had responses like they would really like to talk about mental health.
Okay.
You know, so, you know, it's just tailoring a little bit, figuring out, taking, you know, from what kind of, for example, the thriller, you know, what was your fear when you were a child? Or, oh, you work for this, you know, can you share with us, like this nonprofit, can you share us a story where you were directly affected by this? And people love it. And then when I do the Zoom interviews, those ones are fun because I will prep the questions beforehand, and they don't usually, some talent wants the questions, but usually no. And same thing, I'll kind of get a feel for it, get that hunch. Again, I don't know how to explain it. And, you know, there's been just now an interview with one of the last ones I did before we closed over Zoom. We started talking and I had, you know, 5 other questions, but I ended up just kind of putting them to the side and continuing on what he was saying, because it
was more interesting.
I could see like this was
it.
going more.
Yeah.
And a lot of times as I'm writing these questions and answers are being brought in, especially for the cover stories, because those are the ones where I write like a full 2-page essay. Within the first 5 minutes, I usually have the direction of where I'm going to go with this article. Just because it's like, you hear it sometimes, what they say, you know? So within the first they usually last 20 to 30 minutes. So within the first 5-7 minutes, I usually have already a bit of a direction I'm going to take, which is really fun. And then in terms of writer's block, I don't know if I should be saying this out loud like this, but a lot of times I will literally I have at times where I give myself an hour before I should be releasing the story to write it.
It forces
pressure.
you.
Sometimes pressure is good.
No,
is that why the last one had some typos? No.
It's okay, Grammarly. There's Grammarly helps sometimes.
Oh,
but obviously I don't do this all the time. Alec, don't worry. I'm doing my job, right?
He's already writing the email right now. We need to have a chat.
We need to chat, Alex. But
she's just saying it for, you know, for the effect.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it sometimes too, because I do get, if I have writer's block, I am not going, it was like with homework too, I'm not going to do it. It's not going to work. But I will, when I get closer to deadlines, I will spend a little time thinking about, you know, the answers that the talent gave me, and I'll start trying to think of a direction.
Do you ever get nervous before like a Zoom with them? Do you ever like?
In the beginning I did, but now
you're over it now.
I'm over it. I already know. I use my hands a lot. I've been like trying to hide my 2 broken nails every time my hands come up, so I use my hands a lot. I go sometimes, you know. And what was cool is Alec actually in the beginning would watch or be with me on Zoom, and he actually gave me all these different tips, and you know, he continues to do so, how to navigate little things. So I've been learning more and more. But I don't really get nervous anymore, just because, well, 1, a lot of times I've met them already in person. And 2, I just, you know, I mean, they're people like me, you know, and they probably are enjoying the interview, but they're also just like me, like, okay, let's do the interview, let's get to know, and let me go to dinner with my wife after, or, you know, go hang out with my kids for the adult talents, or in my case, just chill at home.
That's funny.
So yeah, that's kind of, I just have to say thanks, guys, because you guys are asking me questions that I actually never really stopped to think about myself. So it's kind of cool.
It's good. It's reflection.
Yeah, I love it. I'm like, whoa, wait, there is a, what is it? Order to the chaos in my head.
Method
What
to
do
the
you-
madness.
So you
Method to the madness. Thank you.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
you feel like this is like a calling for you to write and to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think writing, I would love to get into more like investigative journalism at
Yeah.
some point, even if it's like doing a side project, you know.
Because there's lots of types of writers. There's people who want to write stories, they want to write books, they want to write screenplays, they want to write, whether it's journalism, writing that type of
I have a
journalism.
book
It's all
in the
very
making.
different. You're making a book.
I am. I have a book that was also stemmed from college. I
Okay.
have all chapters outlined, but I went to go see when Aquaman came out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like right before like a year or two before COVID hit. So
Yeah.
a few years ago. So I wrote this book proposal. I have it all ready to go. It's like a little bit of it's an autobiography without being an autobiography.
Right,
You know, it's just kind
right.
of like lessons, perceptions, like things I've learned. Like my mom's a neuroscientist, so I was kind of raised
Oh wow.
with that neuro way of thinking, which is also why I felt fine dropping psychology. I was like, my mom's gonna teach me
It's
a bunch
fine,
of things.
yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
They were probably like, what? What is she talking about?
But when I saw Aquaman, it made me really, really want to write, like make up my own like fantasy world.
Kind of reminds me of like the old, how they used to structure the old like anime, like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like they'd go, each episode they'd go to a different place and they'd be somewhere else.
so
and they'd be, it's kind of like a
true.
journey,
I've been so
you know,
into
Avatar.
oh my god, Avatar, but I've been into oh my goodness, what is going on? Why am I Korra?
Yeah. Legend of Korra.
Legend of Korra.
That's Avatar too.
Thank
I mean,
you. It's like the
same
it's the
universe.
Yeah. That one's so good
Yeah.
right now. And she actually kind of somehow is similar to like
Yeah,
even be like
that hero's kind of journey thing.
yeah,
going
which is funny
through.
because I only started watching Legend of Korra like 2 months ago. And I had this idea for the book before. Oh, that's funny how life
Yeah.
works. But
I
anyways,
think
yeah.
it's like a time tested like format though, like to have, each chapter, which I think of it in terms of a TV series or movie, but like could be one day. But the
that would be the goal.
yeah, but
essentially.
but books, in general, each chapter is some progression. That would be pretty cool.
So that's what I'm hoping to do. I haven't actually really, a few people know about it, but I hadn't actually vocalized it. So the
Well, now
book,
it's out there.
Yeah,
So
I know,
it'll
I'm
be on
excited.
Now you're-
Amazon
now
in
you're
a
on
year or two.
I know now. No, it's great. I just put myself in a position where now you better.
now
write
you
this
have to do
book,
it. That's the
Alex.
thing.
But yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what I want to do. I definitely want to keep with writing. I also really love producing. I've really found so much love for the production side of things.
Really?
Dealing with the stress of they need this, they don't want this, or they're happy with. Oh, it's so stressful, but I love it. I love being able to help promote other people.
Yeah.
So anything that's marketing or production or even creative side.
It's a crazy job being a producer.
I can imagine.
I do not love it.
I can imagine
Yeah.
because you really are in it, and I think it's so fascinating. So
Music videos, especially music videos.
yeah, I was gonna say
They're
that
that's a hyper stressful situation.
because
It's-
also with artists, I've noticed with art. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at least from the publishing side of things, dealing with booking an artist is a little bit more complicated because you really
Right.
have to go through the manager, through sometimes family,
sometimes it is the same person.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
yeah,
not.
yeah,
Sometimes
and
it's
you're
two
like-
different people. Sometimes they don't get
The
along.
momager.
Sometimes it's so that in that situation at least it's the same person so that you don't have to be having two people. with
yeah,
it.
you can just get
Because
yeah.
a lot of times you'll have a situation where the manager is someone else that's been brought in. Then you have the mom over here, the dad over here. You have the family over here. You have the management over here. You have the label. You have this one artist with like 50 people around him.
Yeah, and then there's the rights, all the rights
Everything,
to
yeah.
the music rights
Yeah.
and all that. I mean, it's a hassle.
It's
but
not
I,
as easy either for like I remember a situation when we were working with Sophia when just like to doing like a small video for the issue and then like we just ended up putting some music over it because we were like
No, it was too much,
trying to go through the process of with the label.
and it was just too.
It's not like she can just give me the song. You
No,
know, you have to go
because
through the label and you have to go through the whole
and
thing.
you can get sued.
It's crazy.
That's the thing too. You can get like,
It's
oh my
crazy
god! I've just with
process.
this job, Alec has taught me things where he's like, "Well, do you have this to be?" I've been discovering
No.
all these documents, and I'm like, well, before it was new to me. I
Right.
didn't even think that you have all these things. So it's really fun, but Honestly, it's funny because in the beginning when we started talking, we were talking about, you know, people who just kind of like how you kind of went with a bit of a plan.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm like, I mean, obviously I want to keep doing what I'm doing with the magazines, but I'm also like, I'm okay. Like, I wouldn't mind doing 6 months of event planning.
Plans are pointless.
You know, yeah.
I mean,
just
they're really there's it's good to have an idea where you want to go, but
I'm open
documenting
to-
every little
yeah.
step along the way, it's never gonna happen that way.
I'm open to anything, but it definitely is going to stay in the whole production, writing, artsy
Yeah.
kind of world. I would like to do some things with purpose, as in, you know, more on the like heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Which
Heavy
I've-
like from experience or heavy from
heavy as in just you know, not just TV, film, and something a little more lighthearted. Heavy as in, you know, like I have a, I'm gonna stay very broad in what I'm saying, but someone came to me and was like, a friend of mine was explaining to me where they work right now. There's some issues about well, with racism,
Yeah.
you know, and I was talking with my friend and I was like, you know, if it comes down to it, here's what we can do, and if I can help to like write something that could, you know, down the line, if we want to turn this into something to figure out how we can stop that from happening, then let's do it. That's what
it's
I
just
meant
like
by heavier things.
someone who's in like not in your orbit, or someone like a friend of yours.
It's a friend of mine in a different kind of business and just has been witnessing certain things, and I'm like, okay, like if we can do something about it, like
Yeah.
I'd love to help. And that's what I meant by heavier
More
things.
more things that are like more cultural and
Yeah,
but not cultural in a way that's like a pop star right now. Like,
No,
yeah,
like
cultural
also
and like an
like
issue.
like my dream would be to go travel, you know, to like third world countries. And I mean, I have so many ideas of this idea I have in mind. I won't say it out loud because I want to keep it to myself in my mind. But there's just so many things that I think need to be done. But it's like crazy because the older I get, the more those childhood things that I had all the time in the world to think of, like really this conversation is bringing them back to me in my mind right now, because I'm just realizing like, wow, life really gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
And but there's so many things I would love to do, utilizing still what were our jobs, but in different levels.
You're gonna build on top of it.
Yeah, just because I feel like we all look, we can't save the world. Not to be all, I'm not trying to be negative, but we can't save the whole world, but
Yeah.
we can slowly, you know, evolve in just these kind of conversations, you know, and then getting other people to listen in and hopefully shift perspectives and just allow people to really just be in tune with who they are. And again, as long as you're respectful and kind, I don't really care much what you do with your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I care if, you know, but I'm not going to judge you on any of that. It's just,
That's kind of how I feel. I'm like, if you're good with what you're doing, then go do it.
yeah,
It's
just
fine.
be respectful, be kind.
Yeah.
And there's so many people in this world that are not.
Yeah.
And it's just becoming worse.
Do you ever
Yeah.
feel like there's like you can't talk about certain things because like especially in our industry there is a lot of things that happen like sexual harassment, things like that, but there's probably writers that there's people that approach them like, hey, like the Harvey Weinstein thing, like can you write about this? It happened, but they're like, I can't write about that. I'll get blacklisted. Like I'm or like with you, like it's not just you anymore. You're representing Bello. You can't like maybe you do want to write about the piece, but then your boss is like, hey, we really don't need that kind of light right now. We're trying to push these new issues. We just got these new investors in. You know, these designers don't want anything, no mess, right? So like, I feel like sometimes there is a little bit of pressure. Do you feel that now in your career that maybe you try to stay away from certain things, or do you feel like you have to like not just think about yourself or what the right thing is, but what the right career choice is for yourself?
Well, I feel, honestly, I haven't really had a situation yet where I felt like that, where I came face to face with that. Kind of. Someone came to me with a big story about a big person, and I told that person, that would be an example, and it had nothing to do necessarily with the magazine. I was like, I'm not going to write this story. One, I don't have enough knowledge on it, and two, it was a little bit, you know, yeah, if I'm going to do something like that, I need to make sure I have knowledge of it,
Mhm.
like to a certain extent.
Like that.
But at least with me, I haven't felt any situation like that yet. I haven't had a story come to me for, that were along those lines.
That probably is because too with this type of magazine, it's more,
It's really fashion, lifestyle.
it's more, it's very, cultural in terms of movies, TV, and music, and it's about the clothes and about the lifestyle stuff. And
But we don't go too much.
you're not like E, or you're not TMZ.
No,
It's nothing like that at all.
And it's also not New York Times, LA Times.
Right.
You know what
Which
I mean?
those
Wall Street
ones-
Journal.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's what I mean by I would love
Or even like
to
a
get,
Variety or something like that, where it's still in the same world, but it's more substantial
No, here we keep it.
on those things.
We get into depth of things, but again,
About the person, though, you get
About the
so many-
person, not
your
about-
guys' substance is more based around it's being a platform for the artist or whoever is being, whoever's
Right.
on the issue.
Yeah.
Versus, you're more staying on the one-on-one versus, the whole industry and the whole thing. There's other magazines that do more of like a in-depth.
Well, here's the thing, though. Sorry to cut you off, but
No, go ahead.
so I don't forget. But in relation to that, the way I do it is in my cover stories. Sometimes when you guys are asking me like, how do I know what direction to go? Well, sometimes that's what I'll do. So I'll try to insert, women in the industry are still da-da-da, and I'll try to pair it in
Yeah.
with what. So those are kind of the ways, and that is welcomed. I think it's actually very welcomed. I always tell the editor-in-chief sometimes when I'm taking a certain direction. And that's the way I would do it, actually, now that I think of it. So there's a lot of cover stories, that I've written where I've taken on just talking a little bit about gender or race and gone with that vibe because it also happened to fit with what the person was saying. So it was like a nice opening. So I try to insert those kind of notions and like bigger than just, so what movie do you play in? Through that way. And, anything else that would involve, I don't know, just anything that's a little bit more LA Times vibe.
Right.
That I can do, but I would probably, depending on what the story is, that would probably fit more me submitting it to another magazine than it would to our magazine.
Oh, I see.
I don't know. But then again, it really depends on the situation, because I've done, we did a whole, like, I really try to include even articles, even if it's 2 pages, on charities and things like that. Like, I try to do little things where I know our focus is fashion and lifestyle and entertainment. But if I can, I'm also going to include stories that are a little bit more of things, such as like around the Cameron Boyce Foundation. I remember I did, an article around that, or
Tell me about what that was, just like.
Well, Cameron Boyce, he passed away.
Yeah. The actor who
A few years ago.
through a seizure, I think it was.
Yeah, because he had what was the name of the?
I don't know if it was epilepsy, but it was.
He had
something.
a
rare disease.
A rare disease, and they have this foundation that kind of helps and caters around that, and they reached out and they're like, "Do you want to talk to this person and this person?" And I was like, "Yeah." And talking sometimes was via email. I'm like trying to remember I'll come back to you on this one.
Yeah.
I need to remember a few details. Again, I have so many details in my brain, and sometimes it's overwhelming. I'm like going through the files in my brain, and I go, wait, what was that? When was that? But that was, another example. And just bringing on, and then after this is a little smaller, but I did like top 5 sustainable brands, because I'm super into, I love when I see these like sustainable brands and things. So it's like finding those little ways to incorporate into what we do. It's a little bit of a mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's always been like a really like fascinating like type of job. Someone who gets to just travel and write. It's
fun.
very. It seems like a lot of people's dream would be to be just getting to interview and write about people and write about things. And
I mean, it's pretty fun. It's very fun. I wish I could do more of the traveling part, for sure, because it's really
Especially,
nice when you can go to a hotel and they're like, hey, you get to stay here, free food, free everything, to write something.
The nicest thing possible.
I love
because they
it.
want you to just,
I love
be
it.
glowing.
If I could just do that, I would. But honestly, I would miss, like, if I was just going off doing literally just the writing and traveling and things,
Yeah.
I would miss the production side, because again, like, I am the middleman between everything. So I produce everything, I write everything, and then I need to my job is to make sure that everything gets sent to the layout designer.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure all the credits are put, like, it's like
It's
I'm
a whole
not
process,
not just
yeah.
writing. I'm doing different hats, or sorry, wearing different hats. But I love it. I don't see, even though sometimes I'm like, oh, can I just go for a week and just spend my time eating and writing,
Yeah.
Or can I take a break and go write my book? But I don't know about you guys. I don't know if this makes me sound like a weirdo. I am a weirdo anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I thrive when I'm stressed.
Yeah.
Obviously there's levels of stress, but I love those deadlines, I just had, because it's like, when I was a kid, I would, up until now, I mean, I don't really do it that much anymore because I don't have reason to, but even through college, I had a reward system for myself. So I needed to work hard or stress a bit in order to reward myself with something after. And that's always kind of stuck with me.
You have to feel like you earned it.
Yes, I have to feel like I earned it. So when
I've never really felt stressed like that. Like I don't.
What's your secret?
It's like I don't.
What's the medication?
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I get stressed, and there's stress, but like the stress of, like, it's more like, it used to be the stress of, like, paying rent versus the stress of, like, the production. It wasn't, I never really got stressed about, whether or not this insurance is going through for this project, or that's all, like, gonna work out and be fine. It used to be more stress about bigger things, bigger long-term things, bigger.
I see. That's what's happening.
It's not that there was no stress. It was just that
No.
it wasn't. And I still don't. It's actually gotten worse as time gone on. I care less and less about the stress of the shoot day and everything else. It's just like, okay, well, it's gonna be fine.
I mean,
it becomes one of those things where you're just like, all right, well,
it is.
it'll be fine.
It's
Whatever.
I'm a little more at where you're at.
Yeah.
Just because Alec has really helped with that. The editor-in-chief, he's really helped me with that.
When you've seen enough, or you've done so many.
But I still get
becomes
sometimes like those 4 shoots a week stresses.
Yeah.
Like when you have that. But
Too many, yeah.
But I do know what you mean, because that is a very good point. I've learned that. Alec is always telling me, he's like, sometimes like shit happens in this industry. I mean, once the photographer we had texted me an hour before the shoot, hey, I'm going to the hospital, like, I can't make it.
Oh no.
Yeah, I had 3 hours, or 5 counting the 2 hours of glam, and I was crying. I mean, I was really, really, like, I was panicking. And I called the editor-in-chief, and he's like, deep breaths, it's gonna be fine. And guess what, it was fine. We found it was fine. So I think it's important to, sometimes you just gotta
I think it's only through experience. Like, I'm sure Alec is like, yeah, I've seen that before. It's happened before.
I mean, that's
Whatever.
literally what he says. He's like, Alex, you don't understand.
Let me call up somebody, and versus when you're younger and everything's gonna go perfect.
Yeah.
Everything's gotta be perfect.
I've been in the transition. In the last year, I think I'm going into more the adult. Just
late 20s is when you start to become like, it's fine.
It's
good enough.
I have literally I've used that word.
There's no
a little
photographer.
more.
Well,
it's gonna be fine. We're gonna figure it out, and everyone's here. What's going on? And
you have a phone, don't you? No.
Oh my goodness, can you imagine? I'm always telling Alec, I'm like, Alec, you and Steph are photographers, so
if they didn't show up, you could just pop up and be like, oh, I'll shoot it today. No problem.
And I know that if like there's ever an emergency, I can do that, because they're also very busy. Like, they run everything, so But I feel like could be a good backup. But to any future photographer, don't let's not cancel unless you're going to the
very,
hospital.
very careful
That's
what you're doing
different.
that day.
Yeah, please.
Was it like a health thing, or was it like an
I never
accident?
knew. I never asked.
Oh.
Well, because sometimes the way when people, like, the way it was texted to me, it seemed a little like serious or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, tell me more. Like,
Yeah.
are you sick? Are you like that's horrible.
But
Like,
you didn't follow up though. Is what you're
I
telling
mean,
me.
no. I followed up after. I said, hey, are you okay? And
Yeah.
and they were like, no, I'm fine. And I was like, okay, like, you know, it's all good. Like, I hope you're fine.
But there's a part of you thinking like, well, you should be just fine.
I know, no, I was angry in the morning for a second because I wasn't
Yeah.
angry at the person. I was angry at the situation.
Yeah.
You know, like it's one of those situations, like I was like, no. But again, luckily, you know, the way these magazines have built relationships with people, all types of people in the industry, you know, I've had maybe 2 or 3 altercation, you know, like
Like
issues.
arguments or issues, confrontations.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my God.
It's
what
an
is
industry
going
with
on?
a lot of
Altercation, you,
a
like,
lot of
fought them?
yeah.
Oh, we know.
Confrontations
No,
more
I
where
meant
you-
more. Yeah. Okay. So altercation is like with physics. I swear I'm American. It's really been a thing lately.
You know what's funny about that? Because I met you with Sofia Reyes, who's the Mexican singer. She's from Mexico, right?
Yes.
She's from Mexico, and we actually did her first music video. I think it was her first music video. We worked with her really young. We worked with her when she was really young.
I remember you guys saying,
And
yeah.
that was one of my productions, and it was a fucking nightmare.
Really?
So and she is a sweetheart.
Yeah. No,
She's
she
so
is.
amazing. Her team is amazing. That fucking shoot, I am telling you right now. Oh my god, it was out. I think it was out in Joshua Tree. It was out in the desert, and we had a giant RV, like one of those big, glam RVs where they have the things, and the main one broke down, like at the street level. You know, when you turn in Joshua Tree, you start driving up the hill to
I've
wherever
actually
you're
never
going.
been.
So out when you're on the desert, there's the main road, right?
Yeah.
There's the main road. And then wherever the properties are, you make a turn onto the dirt road and you drive up into the hills or wherever the place is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just these huge properties because it's just a desert. The first RV broke down out
Like at the beginning?
at the street.
Yeah.
Right when it was turning, it broke. It had a flat tire or something happens where it couldn't go anywhere. So the RV company is telling me, well, like, you know, we can send another one. Like, you know, we have to send you another one, but because it's 2.5 hours away, like there's all these things. Like it was this company that's really well known for all the movie and production rentals and things like that, and they were being very unhelpful. Because
Of course.
it wasn't like we did something. Their RV didn't show, essentially. It broke down and didn't come. It was I could see it from where it was because it was down at the street, but it essentially didn't come. So they were hesitant, though, to send us another one because they were like, well, we're overbooked today. We don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this. And so they sent a second one. That one got stuck on the way up. So 2 RVs broke down.
No. Oh, that okay.
And this one, we had to wait 2.5 hours for that one to get there. And now, luckily, we had gotten there at like 7 in the morning. So we had gotten there really early, and she wasn't arriving till later. So she didn't, she passed the first one. She was there, though, when the second one was stuck. And so we had to, move everything into one of there was like a house up there. It was this really cool location with a bunch of those Gulfstream chrome RVs, like those old 50s looking RVs with, and it was really neat, all neon at night and really cool. But we had to move her into this old house and all this stuff to have her makeup done and put all the clothing in and everything. It was just, I think we got there, we left downtown LA at 4:30 in the morning, and I didn't get back home until probably 4:30 in the morning. Like, that's how long it took to do the whole thing. It was just a.
But how did that work? Like, the RV, you guys were shooting in the RV, or that was just
No, that
where
was
she was
for
going to be stationed?
That was where she was supposed to be because it's out in the desert, and there's only these little Gulfstreams which aren't. They're when you get in them, you're like hunched in.
Right.
You're not you can't set up in there.
Yeah.
And then the only other option was this little house that wasn't technically part of the rental. They just let us use because they were watching these things break down. And it was like, the first one just broke down. The second one got stuck. And I didn't really understand why that was because it was a dirt road, but it wasn't muddy. It wasn't crazy. It just,
for whatever reason.
Oh no, that sounds.
And so that was what. Anyway, that long story short, that's was my first time meeting her. Well, the second time we shot her was years later, and that was the one where I had met you. And so when I met you with her, I thought you were Hispanic, just because I just assumed, because everyone with her is from Mexico with her, they're all family
Because
or
they had an
friends
accent, so everyone.
well, and she has that kind of like accent. So like I was like, you know, and French is very similar to Spanish in a way. It's not the same, but it's very similar. So when she's talking, I was like, oh, she must be with Sophia's team. Like, I just thinking, oh, like whatever, you know, because she kind of had that raspy kind of, you know, like I'm, you know.
This is such a big compliment to me. I'm so excited right now. This is great.
Then she tells me, then there's like 50 Alexes that work with you guys. It's like everyone's named Alex.
I know. It's bad. It's really
So I'm
bad.
talking to one of them, and then I'm texting her, and I hadn't saved her name in my phone yet, because I had just been back and forth, and then I'm writing, you know, you, and it's suggesting, you know, it was suggesting your name in there. So I'm thinking, okay, Alex and Alex. So I'm like, okay, this is Alex. So then I'm sending you information of things that she's told me that I say wrong Alex, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So long story short, to find out you're born here and you're French, I feel a little bit like, you know, first impressions are not really that important apparently, because it was completely wrong from just every single angle.
Well, don't worry. If it makes you feel better, I've had people think I was from Portugal. People think I was from Brazil. I've had people think I was from Israel.
You know what's funny?
I've had like a lot
is
of different...
Israel I could believe.
Yeah.
Solely because you kind of have that raspy voice that everyone that I know from Israel has for some reason. They have that same raspy voice. And I don't know where they got Brazil from.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I was working this stand. Do you guys know Back on the Beach Cafe? Well, now it's the Annenberg Community Center, like off of the ramp, like on the beach.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
The Annenberg Community.
Well, I haven't been up there, but yeah.
That used to just be a restaurant back on the beach, and now I turned it. But when I was like between high school and college, I was working during summertime. They have like this like cart on the side to rent boogie boards and buy things, and that's where I got the most crazy, like just people trying to guess where I was from, and I would just say, you know, I'm from here, I'm French, and they go, French, and I'm like,
When you said French, I was like, okay, I see.
Thousand Oaks. I'm from Thousand Oaks.
Born in Thousand Oaks, raised in Los Angeles, as my uncle in Nebraska calls me, and this is actually my opening line to most of my college essays, is I am an American cupcake with French icing.
That's pretty clever.
That's how he described me one day. And yeah, that was my hook for most of my college essays.
Very clever. I'm hungry now.
I know. All this talk of sushi and sweets is making me like...
I was talking to a friend of mine on here, and I was just like, they were listing off food, and I was just sitting there going, that just sounds like... They were talking about health and stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I want that. Whatever you're talking about, I want that. But like, it's a crazy industry for sure. I think that like, you're in this situation where you get to, you know, people are brought to you, and you have to engage them. It's kind of the opposite of what I'm doing here. Is like, where like there's just people that I find. Mm-hmm. I have to imagine it's harder for you, because to me it would be harder to relate to everybody, but you find a way to do it in a way that's like, do you find it hard to come up with those questions on the fly like that? Because you're saying like, you know, you just comes naturally. You just vibe with them and go from there.
I'm very, very, very in tune with other people.
Yeah.
I really can't explain it. But most people that are around me who know me, you could ask. Like the other day I went to a birthday dinner, and it wasn't even the waiter, it was the bus boy, you know? Yeah. And he came to the table, and I think I like bent over and like lifted, and I almost hit him or something, and I literally freaked out, and I was like, I'm so sorry. And I could hear he spoke Spanish, so I started talking to him in Spanish, and then in that 3-minute like interaction, I knew about his daughters. His daughter's name was Alejandra as well.
Oh, wow.
Like what he was doing, like all of these things, and within 3 minutes, I had his whole life story, you know. And like I've always gotten like people feel pretty comfortable around me, and I feel like I can assess. Again, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's I just kind of go in knowing that people have boundaries, and it's just kind of assessing. So, you know, I can come in a little hot sometimes. So I've learned to sometimes just go in a little more mellow when you're meeting like a talent for the first time.
Yeah.
And then you kind of assess, you know, sometimes you can tell like they just want to talk to their glam people. I mean, sometimes they'll literally shut the door of the room.
Oh, yeah, no,
You know, and you're
absolutely.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you just kind of learn to,
Or their team will cut.
Or, yeah, their
a lot
team
of
will,
the time.
yeah.
A lot of the time, when you hear those stories of a celebrity, like, you know, behaving rudely or something, whatever, and people have bad days. That's the first thing. It's like,
it happens.
but a lot of the times, it's not even them; it's the people around them.
Yeah.
It's like they're being hyper protective
And yeah,
to not have anything go wrong, and so it comes off as like as that, like it comes off in like a
Which is its
slam the door on you kind of thing.
and that's why what I think is important, at least in terms of our industry, is because I'm in such, I text and email with the same publicist
right
over and over again. So also, I feel like the more I build a relationship with the publicist, the more we are in tune. So whoever they'll pitch to me, or I'll ask sometimes, requests to shoot. I feel like we're a little bit more in tune because we can see what kind of people. So lately, again, we've only had maybe, me personally, I've only had like, I can count on my hand how many negative, and they weren't even that negative experiences.
Yeah, me too.
So it's really, and that's what Alec and Steph built, and what Alexandra built with Maison Privée. They've really built where, again, we're really not here to be fake.
Yeah.
And that's what's so ironic, is this industry is still very much about fake. I feel like people are a lot more open now. Like there's more, we're going a certain direction, but then I see things, and it's, you take a step forward and then 5 steps back.
Yeah.
And it's people, so now it's like approaching things, but I feel like personally it can be still very fake. So I don't really work around fake people, and somehow in this industry and in my work, I've really not met that many like conceited fake people.
Yeah, no, I mean,
So
at least with I've only met Alec and Alexandra. I haven't met Steph, but they're so like kind, nice, and sometimes that's like a, it's weird sometimes.
People
because
think,
sometimes you're like looking at them kind of going, are you just being nice because
no, literally,
What do you want from
what do
me?
you want
What
from
do you
me?
want from me?
It's a terrible
Yeah.
terrible thing that
That's how
develops
people
in
think.
this particular industry, and it's a real
But
thing.
I feel like writers too, like I've done interviews, and every time I know I have an interview with the writer, I'm like on my best behavior, because you want the writer to like you, because you want them to write the most like flattering thing. You want them to see the best of you. And even like you were saying, like you usually can do a Zoom, or you can send them questions. When I get questions, I almost cheat, because I'll like print them out, and I'll get like my friends, or I'll get people and be like, what's a good answer for this? Like I'll be like, I want to sound cool, or what's like, is this a good answer? So it almost like I'm learning a little bit, like you almost
You
rob
should be
yourself.
honest.
Yeah, but because you want to come across as cool, and especially I'm not a great writer, so, and a lot of people, like a lot of talent, I'm sure, unless you're like a songwriter, are not great writers, so you're always like scared to be written in a where you come across as not bright, or like,
Yeah.
what
Have
is
you
this
ever
person
had anybody
talking
just
about?
give you a voice memo and say, here's my answer?
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Because
If someone was just to answer your questions verbally and have you just write them down.
like you say, like, where are you from, and then they just record the answer. Well, I'm from the Bronx, and I'm different this, and then you have to like write a story around that.
Because
Well,
you're normally on Zoom.
That's the cover stories.
You're normally on Zoom.
So the ones that are question answer, a lot of times those are via email because it's easier,
Yeah.
especially when they're traveling. But me, it's the cover stories that I do the most on Zoom. I'll do Zoom for some of the things too, because you have to understand, doing Zoom means you have to transcribe everything.
Right.
And then and that's an extra 20 minutes in the day. If I were to do that for every
20.
single
That's
interview,
yeah, it could be longer.
Yeah.
depending on,
However long the interview is, at least.
at least. And like if I were to do those like question answers that I do via email, in those cases, I have had times where I've, with the email questions, I've kind of told the publicist like, hey, can I get a little more on this, please?
Yeah.
Or can, expand. But
Transcribing it's a whole
transcribing it, but that's what I love. But that's why I love for the cover stories, like writing where you insert the quotes in.
Yeah.
And that's where you can have the most fun. But again, me, when I write, I'm very respectful. Like if you're like, oh, scratch that, or I can kind of tell when someone maybe stuttered on their word or something. So when I'm gonna go and write the cover story about the person, I personally omit anything that could come off. I just think as long as you're authentic and true to yourself. It's funny because like someone who works for this other magazine that we kind of like know, I remember, oh man, what was the word? It was like, I think it was like, show off your pussy. Or the woman said like something a little, like it made, the guy asked me, he's like, can we publish this, like, and we literally contemplated for a day, I was like, if we do like the little star to the word, I forget exactly, but it was
Sick.
like, it was pretty,
Or put some sort of like,
like
asterisk.
just change it, or do we just leave it? And then by the end of it, we just both agreed, because he was talking in regards to American
just
readers.
remove it altogether.
No, we kept it.
You kept it.
We kept it because he was like, you know what? He's a magazine in Spain, and he was like, no, we're just gonna keep it.
Yeah.
But there are those instances where sometimes you have to think a little bit. You gotta be a little mindful a little bit. But in terms of like if you're answering the question, my thing is just be your true self.
That's how even with this format, like I'm letting people just talk, and sometimes I'm like, whoa, like you're saying a lot, and then I'm like, I'm not editing it, I'm gonna stitch it together if there's any takes we had to do, like if we had to stop or anything, but largely it's just gonna be just straight through. And
I mean, I've been mindful of what I'm
that's
saying
you,
today.
That's who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's trust me, I have been terrified by now. I've been like thinking, and when I got here, I'm like, okay, Alex,
Well,
like you talk a lot, so make sure you talk, but be smart about it. Like just
No, and that's the thing. If you're talking, about something personal, there's not really much you can say that's wrong. If you're talking about from your personal perspective of saying like, I went through this situation. Here's what happened to me, and here's what how I felt about it. There's nothing you can't really overshare in this type of format if that's what you're being asked about. It becomes difficult when you're talking about something else or someone else, when you're saying, I felt a certain way about writing this for this person or this. That's when you start to get into this kind of like, probably should be kind of careful what you say,
well,
in terms of what you're saying.
Oh yeah, and making sure to not like, I cite some names and then other times not, because again, I'm not here really to air out anything. You know what I mean? I love to give credit where credit's due. So like, for example, Jack and Zyra, I really genuinely loved meeting them. Like they're the way they were.
I was so jealous. I was like, oh, they're so funny. Like they're just like so entertaining.
I know,
like,
they're really like,
yeah.
I say great kids, but they're like older than I'm pretty sure.
Are they older than you?
I'm pretty sure Jack is older than me.
Some of them are
Zyra might actually be older than me too. So
some of them are oftentimes like, it's that High School Musical effect where like they're playing a teenager but they're really 30.
They're really older. Yeah.
They look young. But they're not like that young.
And the generations now, I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I just see like some people look. I mean, I look young. Some people tell me I look young, and I feel like some people.
The only reason why I would say you're older, I could place you in your late 20s or whatever, would be because of your job.
Yeah,
that's
you
it.
carry yourself.
That's really the only reason why I could put you. If someone said, "Well, how old do you think she is?" Well, she's a writer for Vulcan, or I'd be like, "Well, okay, well, you'd have to be, you couldn't be
mature."
But yeah, no, I know what you mean though. There's a lot of people out there that they come off as younger.
You can come off as younger, or the younger ones
come off as older.
One of my dad's family's friend, Karina, I love you. I always look at her and I'm always so convinced she's older than me, and I always forget that she's like
She's younger,
a year or
yeah.
two younger, you know,
It's like
not
an
a
old
crazy
soul.
yeah. And it's like every time I go, literally at Christmas the other day, I was like, oh shit, like no wait, you what am I talking about, you're younger than me, like I don't know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
But again, anyways, all these things about age, like not to get all corny, but age really is a number. How you look, if you look old or
Yeah.
young or whatever, it doesn't matter. If anything, I'd rather look young, because then when I get older, maybe my skin will like, you know, stay
Firm up.
intact or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep looking young my whole life. Maybe I won't age.
I think that's like it's a good way of living now, because if you do it that way and you live that way, then you are young at heart. That's a real thing.
Yeah, and
You know,
also,
you're able to adapt better. You're able to, when things change and things are shifting, you don't become that, like, you know, music back in my day was better. You know, it's like, oh, yeah.
no, you just evolved. Do you know
Things
how many
change,
conversations with younger kids I've had that have
Yeah.
truly, you know, obviously it's a little different because they're younger, but you know, hearing just, and then hearing an 80-year-old, you know, it's just hearing all these different people, because I also, like, I'm 24 and I'm divorced. You know,
Yeah.
I have like that part of my life, like I made something, but that could happen to someone who's 45.
Yeah.
That could,
Yeah.
and I just don't think personally that people should be judged or
Yeah, no,
whatever
absolutely.
on, not judged necessarily in a bad way, but like your
Defined
age and all
by
that defined. Yeah, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be really defined by it, because you know, everyone goes through different experiences. A 13-year-old can go through an experience that maybe I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's just
It's that conversation about people. There's times when people peak. You know, everyone peaks at some point, and I think that if you know, are continuously looking at the future and looking for new ideas, new things, like you postpone that. You know, you're continuing to grow. But like, I know people who peaked at 19.
I just
Like,
also feel too like
that
this
was their-
industry ages
that
people
was it.
too, because you have a lot of child stars that kind of grow up quickly because of the people they're around, and they're not living a traditional like upbringing or childhood, and then they usually.
But even more than that, like I'm saying more like in terms of like, you know, grow, like some people stop growing, not physically, but I mean.
Oh, you
like,
mean mentally? Peak.
Mentally,
like
mentally.
they're 20 and then they're 40 and they're
Yeah,
still mentally
yeah.
20.
They're you know, there's some people who, you know, their best days are high school.
yeah.
And then there's some people whose best days are in their 40s. You know,
And
there's just different people,
it
and it's where
changes.
you're at in your
It's
life.
where you're at. It's also the experiences you've been,
Yeah.
like I
I
cannot
think
stress it enough. It's the experiences that you've been through, because
Mm-hmm.
us three, you know, could have, I don't know, we could have gone through an abusive relationship. We'll take that
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
Like, imagine we have textbook the same, but because of our past traumas, because of our perspectives, our
Yeah.
upbringings, we're gonna react differently.
And we're just different people.
And we're different people.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to react differently. We're going to feel differently. Like, there's no one good way. And this all ties in with everything we've been talking about, between beauty and, you know, being a young actress, starting, growing. Like, there's all these different things. There's all these different factors. And I think people need to just keep reminding themselves that at the end of the day, we are individuals.
You know.
We're not entertainment editor. We're not producer. We're not model.
Yeah.
We're not podcast creator. Like, we're not those. We are individuals with humans, with experiences, and, you know, trying to interlace and work with. I mean, it's like a constant, ongoing thing. You know,
Yeah.
I might say something to you that'll trigger something in you. Then you know, and then sometimes those things take a toll and have an impact in our jobs. So like with the industry, you know, with our industry, you are dealing with logistics and statistics and schedules and writing things and taking photos and, you know, getting ready, but you're also dealing with humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humans with a lot of emotions. It's Hollywood. Like, everyone has, even, you know what I mean? But not just Hollywood. That was a bad joke.
Yeah.
We're just going to move on from
I
that.
get it, I get it.
I'm just, remind me to never become a comedian. This right here.
That's
just-
the one thing you
this-
don't have a comedy writing.
No, this right here, I was trying to be funny, and I just heard myself, or I'm going to hear it again when I listen to this again one day. And I'm going to go, nope, no comedian for Alex. But no, it's just, I could go for hours. I love talking about things like that. There's just so much more to it. And no matter whether it's this industry or any industry, we're dealing with people, and And you just need to be mindful that everyone is going through something different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know? And you integrate
Well, even
that.
you said, like, you mentioned a few times, like, what beauty means, and sometimes it's easy for someone to say, well, beauty is like universal or things like that. But I think about the girls who are like bulimic or throwing themselves, like throwing up so that they feel beautiful, and to them beauty is one thing, and you can't say, well, that's not the right thing, like you don't want to look like that. To them, that's what they believe, and you shouldn't like judge people, because I think about like brands like Calvin Klein and Victoria's Secret. For a long time, that was beauty, like that was the
beauty
image
standard, yeah.
and so for someone to aspire to be that, it doesn't mean that it's a wrong way. Yeah, representation matters, but I feel like we shouldn't also like diminish what other people see as beauty just because it doesn't fit what you, it's not like the plus sized, right? To some, for guys, we get the like pre-workouts. It's not a skinny guy, it's a jacked muscle guy, and we're not like, oh well, but that's, we should have like more of an average looking guy promoting it. That's what we're trying to accomplish. It's not, obviously not everyone's going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that's kind of the mental, like aspiring to be that. And so like, I'm sure in like, I wanted to ask you, like, what you ask everyone what beauty means to you, because I'm sure you've gotten so many different like versions. So like, what do you?
Beauty to me, honestly, beauty is it's gonna be a little corny, but beauty is not a physical thing to me. Beauty is really what resonates from outside. I have seen people where I think everyone's beautiful in their own way, even if I think someone is like, I've even tried to remove the term ugly from my vocabulary about talking about other human beings, because I could not think you're necessarily my type, or
Yeah.
you know, as in like girl, male, whatever, like, you know. So I kind of try to stay away from like physical thing when I'm talking about beauty. But beauty, you know, I've seen like, so, you know, I've seen like my friends or people that I met where I find them, oh, you're kind of cute, whatever, and then when I see their inside come out, when I see them, their true self come out, that it's like it lights them up. So beauty to me is what's coming, it's what's stemming from the inside. And beauty is everything. Beauty is your flaws. There's beauty in your flaws, there's beauty in your downfalls, there's beauty in your successes. I mean, to me, beauty encompasses the good and the bad. It encompasses all, beauty is all that baggage, what people call baggage. That's kind of what beauty is to me. All that baggage you carry and how you deal with it after. Because that's what really matters, you know,
Yeah.
too, is not what you were dealt, but how you deal with it after. So if you were dealt bad cards and you're taking it out on other people, or you're putting people down, like, you know, so that, I guess that would be beauty for me.
No, I love
yeah,
that
it's
answer.
really stemming from all the good and the good and the bad, and what you do with it, of course. And just to go back to what you're saying real quick, I agree. Like, definitely, if a guy looks at me and says my definition of beauty and hotness is, you know, you're blonde, tight-waisted girl, like, yeah, we're not gonna judge you for,
Yeah.
you know, again, like, I see, like, lately it's been so cool seeing, we just had a Japanese artist as our cover, Miyavi, this singer, right? A lot of Afrobeat artists are coming. Like, Afrobeats is starting to really, at least from what I've noticed, become more of a thing in the States. And that's also what's been really exciting, is like getting to see, so in terms along the lines of beauty and the job, it's just seeing all these differences literally coming and being celebrated. And it's been so cool. I mean, really, we take pictures of all types of people, you know, from all around the world, who look different, who sound different, who believe in different things, who have different, you know, pronouns, who, like, just so many different, they identify in a certain way, or they, you know, or in another way. And it's just so cool when seeing how more and more there is that, I mean, obviously there's still a lot of ignorance, but people are accepting, there's a change. I'm seeing even in the pitches, you know, the pitches I get, they're a lot, even more, I feel, diversified.
There's more of a beauty and uniqueness now. That people are recognizing that in terms of beauty, which is not what we were necessarily, you know, it's not, Vulcan in general and all the magazines you guys do are not always about beauty, but it's more about now unique, different
people and perspectives versus just the traditional same thing every season. That's more, I think, what's important to go back to is saying, like, nobody is really talking about there being a shredded guy on a pre-workout being a problem. It's more about when you have a feature of somebody, they're different. There's something different about them that makes it interesting. It's not just the same, you know, type of body, same type of skin tone, same type of person every time for the same campaign over and over and over. That's fair. I think, to me, that's very fair. What people are excited about nowadays is they're being really there's just tons of different types of people with different types of talents, with different types of interests.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, and they're being put forward. I mean, with these you know, like they're being literally embraced for that.
And there's nothing wrong with any of those types of things at all, I don't think. I just think that now you're seeing more of things that you wouldn't have seen, which is in some ways good. In some ways maybe it's not. I don't know.
And it's good to even like read about these people, because you don't, I mean, I don't see that many of them in my day to day. So it's great to kind of see their, like, from their point of view. I know you interview different types of people and their background. So it's great to just even see where they're coming from. And then you, I'm sure, getting to write about it and put your own spin on it too.
It's fun. I mean, when I write, I guess the best way to describe it is I really just try to take their voice, like their voice in the sense I really try to capture, 'cause like I said, a lot of times I feel like they're speaking freely and I want to capture their essence, and then I tie it a little bit to whatever's going on in our, you know, what it could relate to. So like the example about sometimes I'll take the angle of for women in the industry, you know, and or the change in the world in general that needs to be like that there's still a lot of ignorance, and taking those things and then kind of putting them on.
And it's like that's that person's experience, and that's something that's
so cool.
That's interesting to hear. That's a different perspective, and I think when people get upset that, you know, a certain billboard or this type of marketing isn't what they want to see, well, it's what someone else wants to necessarily see, and then it's probably going to be different the next time.
Well, you can't make
You know,
everyone happy.
It's going to end up being different every time.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different types of people, especially like things that even 10 years ago were like gaming was kind of a not a joke, but, you know, people would say things like, you know, what are you going to do, play video games the rest of your life? Well, now there's people who are.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, there's a whole, and then there's people, you know, I know with like women in general in that industry. There's more girls playing games than ever before. There's people like Doja Cat who's interested in gaming, things like that. It's just, you know, things that you wouldn't have seen before if you had not been turned on to it by people who put it in your face.
Yeah. Well, isn't there also the what's that cryptocurrency thing
NFT.
with NFT?
That
you.
stuff. There's all
Like-
there's so many types of art and people and ideas and things, and not all of them are good. Nobody's saying all of them are good, but like, you know, there's tons of it now, and because you're connected with everyone, you're not just seeing one Sears catalog that has the same people.
Yeah.
And the Gucci campaign that's usually traditionally had, you know, the same kind of people for years. It had kind of the same look every time.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean,
beautiful stuff.
No, everything's beautiful, but it's just the.
But because the internet has kind of connected people together, I think that there's more people. You wouldn't see these teenage TikTok people walking a runway for Gucci and stuff like that if you hadn't had people expanding and wanting different types of looks and different kinds of people. There's nothing wrong with the original looks.
And regular people now are kind of taking over
Yeah.
the industry too.
But there's
So
also
you know,
there's also traditional supermodel people that are always going to be there.
which shouldn't
It's
be
just,
shunned.
they're just not. They're not going to have every single campaign.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay. There's not a monopoly on who gets the, you know,
It's a balance.
to walk the runway and all
Yeah.
these things, and that's okay. Like, to me, there's more of the people than ever watching, then there should be more types of people involved. And now it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's like a little too obvious that they're just trying to appease something or trying to look a certain way. But if it's just a genuine organic thing, I think it's great. It's just whether or not, you know, it fits or it works is going to be determined by the person who's buying it. So if the people
respond to it and they buy the product and they get the stuff, and then that company is going to continue to do that. And if they don't, then they're going to try something different.
Yeah, and that's
it's going to get worked out no matter what.
It will. Everything will always get worked out.
You know,
that's why sometimes I'm glad I don't have to be on that side
of things. That's a tough side of things.
I don't know if I could. Like, I'll come up with your creative ideas for you, but I like I said, props to every job out there in general.
Just
anyone who's working, but
with the speed at which trends are shifting now is because of the internet. I think just
scary.
It's so fast.
It's too much. Remember when you guys? This was maybe 2 months ago, not even, when WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram crashed for 6 hours. Mm-hmm. I went to my phone. I was on set of a shoot. I went to my phone. Pretty sure 8 to 10 times, because I was like, oh, I need to go post. Oh, I need to go do this for the.
And you keep forgetting that it's down.
And I kept forgetting it was down, and then I get frustrated, and I was like, wait, it's down for everyone, so you're fine. But I had that anxiety, and I was like, and it's like every day you wake up and there's just something new. And trend wise,
a new challenge,
new things. Right now, I mean, this is a smaller example, but right now the trend has been that meme when you realize 2022 is spelled 2022, and I'm like, I know that's not clever. Clothing or beauty, but like that, and it's just always evolving. I mean, I've noticed my fashion style. I'm like this, I don't really have a specific. I can go from chill to like a little more girly. I mean, I don't have something specific, but I have noticed that there are times like my style is being extremely influenced without me realizing it by when I'm scrolling, because there's been a lot of moments where I've had I look at myself in the mirror when I'm like, wait, why does this look familiar? And then I remember 2 days ago I saw some post, and I'm seeing this trend happening. And then they also have this thing where, now all these ads pop up. Even if you're just thinking about something, it somehow pops up. It's very creepy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they know everything that you're looking at, which is a very new thing. I mean, it's not new in the sense we've always had ads that have been tracking you for years now, but it's getting to the point where it's very accurate.
Very accurate, but I guess there's a science
and
to it or something.
That's to me why it's so, especially with brands, like when you see brands that are posting, they're posting every day, sometimes 3 times a day. They have to have the content to do everything, and they have to try and reach as many people as possible. And not everyone's gonna, some people are gonna like this person, and some people are gonna like this one, and some are gonna like this one, and so they're probably gonna have to have 3 different types of photo shoots for 3 different types of audiences. And it's because content isn't burned through so fast now. Things that used to take so much time to create now is being completely it's just gone within a few posts, because of the speed at which you're posting things and content's being consumed at such a
within a few months things change.
Things are over.
There was the hype of those acrylic nail things. Don't get me wrong, I love my acrylic nails too. I'm like,
it came and went.
Well, I've had these 2 fingers just broke. So yeah, but and now I've been seeing it, it's been calming down. And now, what was the latest trend I saw? I feel like the whole Megan Fox.
Oh yeah.
And Kim, Khloe, the Kardashians. Yeah. Kim, Khloe, and
Kylie?
No.
Kim, Khloe, and Kourtney.
Thank you, Kourtney. The one who's dating
Tristan Thompson.
Yeah,
Travis Barker.
Yeah. I noticed for a bit a lot of girls were getting kind of the slick back hair, and then and those matching the styles, and then now that's already gone within a month. And it's always evolving. And
that to me is probably because it got cold.
Okay, fine.
That's probably to me, if it's slicked back, wet looking hair and it's
maybe
freezing
because
where you are.
Okay, fine.
It's probably gone.
But still, it's like it took
Yeah,
over the
yeah,
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe it'll reemerge in the spring.
yeah, I don't know. But it's just
probably over.
Yeah.
It's just that the cultural trends move so quick now.
Yeah. And it's very, and it's not just with like fashion or makeup brands. It's with TV shows, movies, like
everything.
everything in this industry has to kind of evolve at the same time, and it does give or take, but it only, in my opinion, evolves give or take at the same time because of what we were saying earlier, that everything is so intertwined.
Yeah.
You can't have a photo shoot unless you have clothing. You can't get clothing unless you have a stylist. You can't get photos unless you have a photographer, and then the photographer, if he's doing something on film, he needs a printing place, Sammy's or wherever. So it's just, we're all so intertwined. So as these definitions and standards of beauty and or just standards in general, like in the entertainment industry, what people want to read about, what people want to see, like all of these different things, we just have to remember that whether we like it or not, we're all kind of intertwined, and that's actually what makes it beautiful, is that we all are intertwined and we're all very different individuals.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you're not going to make everyone happy. So you just find ways around it. Pick what you want to do. If you want to be, a gossip magazine, fine, be a gossip magazine. I may not be necessarily into it, but I'm sure there's readers who love that, who doesn't love a little gossip from time to time, and, but do it full-heartedly. And I'll respect that. And then if you want to go, and just for everything, just have some respect. Remember that we all are different, and that's what should be celebrated, not shunned. Whether we're all different individuals, we're all different designers, photographers, talents, models. We all have different body sizes. I'm not gonna, if I see someone with a perfect body, yeah, of course, a part of me is like, man, but then in that case, it's, what are you gonna do about it, Alex? I'm not gonna judge that person and be like, oh, they look fantastic, fuck them.
Yeah.
We're gonna make them feel bad, like they should get, they should eat more. No, that would, that's just like that.
That's that person.
That's that person.
If you're happy with who you are,
exactly.
then
And they probably have
you.
their own issues too.
Exactly, everyone, and that's the one thing I will keep saying is
Everyone tends to want something that they don't
need,
have.
in my opinion, exactly, and in my opinion, it's important. You don't have to agree with people and all that, but I really like to put myself in other people's shoes, because even if someone upset me with a comment or something, I try to explain. First of all, I'll talk to try to rationalize with the person, and then ask or try to understand, where are they coming from, why did they react this specific way,
Right.
And I know that it's a lot, and not everyone really necessarily has probably the patience to, I'm not saying constantly be thinking that way, but I feel like overall there should always just be that, sometimes someone's not just being an asshole to be an asshole, and someone's not just, putting someone down. You just gotta check some people sometimes, though.
Yeah.
And yeah, differences should be celebrated. It's a very corny sentence to say, but it's true, and I feel like we just need to keep repeating it. And, for those who choose to put others down, I say, we try to shift their perspective, try to offer, but at the end of the day, it's like what we were saying, you're not going to tell someone what to do. You can try to educate them on things, but then those people just, I don't know, stop being mean. Just stop.
It's unlikely. It's unlikely those people, especially when you're behind the screen. It's unlikely they're going to stop.
I know.
It's better for people who, are wanting to do something or follow a dream or be out there publicly, is better for them just to not look at it. Just don't look at the comments. Don't look at what are you looking at? Just it's because you're not going to ever stop those people from being that way.
If anything, I feel like if people hate me, I had this dream going when I was a kid. I always wanted to be famous, quote unquote, but more famous just because I wanted a voice to be heard, which you're giving me right now. Thank you again. Wait. Oh, I just lost my train.
You had that dream as a kid?
Oh yes, I had the dream to be famous and all that. And I remember I would tell myself, if I ever get to that stage and people start hating on me, I know I'm going to be doing something right.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
as long as, you know, people are like, obviously people are hating on you because you're
Usually,
being an ass.
usually,
Like,
'cause
no.
there's some really horrible people that probably deserve
no,
the hate.
no,
but
that's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
those,
yeah, yeah.
but like, if you're not
You,
someone,
yeah,
like
you.
me or just me, like, if you're not someone, obviously, like, you know, those are just haters. You know,
Yeah.
haters gonna hate, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I always found it really weird when, you know, there's like how a singer can have haters. It's like, if you don't like it, then just don't listen to it. Like, you know.
But they, a lot of times, what do they do?
You know.
Oh, she or he too fat, too
this,
too
too that.
flashy,
Yeah.
too
Can't sing,
too
can't
loud,
this,
can't
can't
sing
that.
that. Oh, they probably auto-tune. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sorry. What artist nowadays
All of
doesn't
them
have
do.
some sort
Have some
of,
kind of-
come on.
It makes
Like-
it sound perfect.
Like, yeah, no, like, I mean, and I don't say this with any critique, but Lil Nas X sounds very different on stage than
Oh,
he
yeah,
does
yeah.
when he's recorded. And there's nothing, I'm not,
Sometimes
you
it's
know,
better. I've had situations where I've heard them live and I'm like, actually, I like this one better. I like the live track better than I like the actual
So you
studio.
see?
And
And-
there's sometimes where I'm like, that's like when they're not as processed.
Yeah.
It's just part of the
But
production.
that's like the label too, I think, probably.
You see, but that's the
Well,
thing.
it's the
So then-
production.
So
It's
then
the-
the
it's
artist
the-
is getting hate on, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you know, like you said, don't look at the comments.
It's best to just not look at it. If you're in any situation where you wanna, if the thing holding you back is you don't want to get hate, then just don't look at it.
Yeah. Or
'Cause-
embrace that if people are hating you, and again, you're not a bad person.
Right.
Maybe you're doing something right, because it's just people standing and
Well,
again.
and it's one of those things too, where if it, you know, there's very few things that people can truly do that hurt someone if they're just saying something. It's just it's whether or not people listen or not, and that goes down a whole different direction. But if you're just trying to speak your mind and say what you want, there's nothing wrong with that. It's when you are. I always like to, at least personally, I like to be a little more on the positive side about other people.
Same. I'm
I'm equally negative.
I love
about
that.
them.
Equally negative.
Like when like, you know, people do not surprise me. Like when there's things that go wrong or things that happen or things that, you know, scandals and things, it's just like, okay, well, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
But I would like to think on the positive side about that person individually.
That's how. I mean, I live my
It's
life.
not always possible, but, you know, for the most part, most people are decent people. They might just disagree with you. They might not have an opinion, whatever. But that's just different. There's no situation where I can ever see it being necessary to like hate comment on a singer's post or something. It's just like, what's that gonna do?
Yeah.
All you're trying to do is just make them feel bad, which makes me think there's something wrong with you.
Which they probably don't even see these comments. Those, you know, like especially when they
Some
reach,
of them do
yeah,
read it
no,
and need to
some,
stop.
but like,
But, you know, like, to me, it's people who hate online, you know, tend to be the people who are, it's a personal thing. It's like they're probably miserable.
they're projecting
You know,
probably their own,
that's
insecurity.
insecurities and hard.
And that there's all types of people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, when you write something or you do your book in the future, there's gonna be people who are like, oh, I don't like that, or oh, and it's like, well, whatever.
No.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not doing it for you
That's
guys
fine.
anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
As
doing
long
it
as
for
you're doing-
myself, and I'm doing it for, well, whoever will enjoy it.
as long as
Those
you're doing,
people.
as long as you're doing whatever you're doing for you,
Yeah.
then okay, well,
Exactly.
You know, it might be successful, it might not be. You're not owed success and anything. I don't feel like I'm owed success, like my pictures or my this, my that needs to be. People need to love these. It's like people are either going to or they're not, and that's just what it is.
I love that.
As long as I enjoy what I'm doing, then that's fine. But like when you start getting into the situation where people are like entitled to success or entitled, they feel like they're being wronged by,
I mean, I can't
you
do
know,
the entitled people.
That's
I just
like,
want
well, like, you know, maybe you're not as good as you think you are, you know, and that's a tough thing to hear, but it's the truth. Like, you know, if I was that good of a photographer or that good of a producer, I would be doing those things, probably, you know, and vice versa. It's like if you feel like you deserve something, a certain brand or a certain amount of sales or a certain thing, you know, there's sometimes when it's out of your control, it's just not what they're looking for. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just not what they're looking for. Or, you know, maybe you're not as good as you think you are.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
because it doesn't
You know?
mean you're a failure.
There's
or
always people better than you at something.
I mean, always, and it's that, yeah, it's doing that work
It's
of
just, you know,
recognizing, like, it's to not.
Just do your best,
Mm-hmm.
and if you keep working at it and keep getting better, you will get those things that you want.
You'll
It's
get
just
them slowly.
there is a certain type of person nowadays I've noticed, and it's I'm sure they've always existed, but they're more prominent with the internet because you see everything. But people who I think they think that they just deserve the cover, they deserve this, they deserve that, and there's people who are out there who are struggling, and they deserve it. Like, there's people who are super talented,
Yeah.
or super incredible singer, or great painter, or great, you know, photographer, or whatever they do, and they don't get any, you know, they haven't gotten the eyes on them yet.
Mm-hmm.
They probably will, but to some degree. But then there's people who those people, though, to me, who have talent but they haven't been seen yet, if they keep at it long enough, I feel like they will probably make some success of it. It's the people who give up, and then they become bitter, and then they become like that, like, you know, well, you know, this person's not that great, I was better than that, you know, all these things. If they stick with it long enough, you know, you stick with a certain talent, you write long enough, you do photography long enough, you do, you know, whatever it is. There's people that I've known, there's people that I look up to, artists and photographers and different people, and I'm like, thinking like they're in their 20s and they're successful, and then I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh, you got successful in your 50s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what were you doing the whole rest of the time? You were just building up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this kind of instant gratification that I think that when we're talking about, like, looking for your Instagram and going to post and going to do these things, like, that has created this situation where people don't realize that, you know, you might be on your journey, and if you keep going, then you'll get there. But if you just stop, oh, you know, this is stupid, only 100 people watched it, whatever, you know what, you know.
Oh, you
it's like,
keep
well, they
going.
keep going,
Yeah.
keep doing it consistently for a long time, and hopefully it's successful. And if it doesn't, then it probably wasn't right. It wasn't the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I keep
You know.
pretending like I'm an influencer. I only have what 1,800 followers, not even. But like, I keep doing it because.
If you're doing it to get famous, that's a bad reason.
No. I'm
Not you. No, I'm saying in general. Yeah.
No, you know why I keep doing it? Because there was like a maybe 2-3 months ago, I started hesitating. I was like, am I annoying? Because I'm always doing these videos where I'm dancing and like, and I started questioning myself a bit, you know, just like we all have our moments. And then there's this designer that I met through a stylist, really cool guy, has really cool bags and clothes. It's Ugly Duckling, but
What's
it's like
the name of the brand?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I thought you were calling it
clothing.
Ugly. I was like, whoa,
No.
Alec.
No. It's called Ugly Duckling Clothing. And anyways, but he came, and it was the second time I saw him, and he was like, hey, by the way, like, you know, your stories, like, they're cool. Like, I enjoy watching them. And then someone else that week had said that, and I was like, oh, okay, like,
That's funny.
like, cool, like,
Yeah.
you know, it may not be right now working for thousands of people, but I have 2 people who told me, and those 2 people, that's what matters to me enough. And then you keep working at it.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily want to become an influencer, guys.
That's like a good, it's like people that, like, I enjoy what you're doing, or I
just-
enjoy, it's like nice.
It's good
a
to
nice
remind yourself on
thing.
your journey
Yeah.
to appreciate what you have right now, and also recognize that to a certain degree we all have an impact on at least 2 people around us.
Yeah.
At least, you know.
I think it's a good way to look at it, especially if you look at it as a journey. You know, you have to keep going, and if you don't find success in the first 5 minutes of you trying something, it doesn't mean that you quit it.
You don't quit
You know?
it. You keep trying. And if one day, look, even if you really, really wanted, I have a friend who was in school, did her 4 years, you know, was trying to pursue a certain field, and she completely did a 180 in the last year, right? And she is the happiest she's ever been, you know. And every time we'd have conversations, I tell her, like, look, like, I'm so proud of you for what you're doing, but maybe, you know, it's okay. It's not the end of the world if you have to change. And she was a bit nervous when she realized that she would have to kind of change course. And she's like, wow. She's like, obviously it helped me because it's still in the same medical field, right? But But now she's like the happiest she was. And I was like, well, I'm so happy for you. But, you know, all that wasn't failure, the 4 years. It was just, she tried it. It didn't work. And she, you know, now is doing something that she loves. And it's just realizing like things don't have to always be so serious. Like, you know, it's not, it doesn't make you a failure if you, you know, it just means something wasn't meant for you. Like you're saying, it's trying at it. And then when you can't anymore, then you stop. And it's okay. You know,
It's okay to not have success on the first
Yeah.
instant that you want it.
It's going to probably take
probably a
a
good
lot
thing.
of, yeah, it's probably
You
going
know.
to take a lot of trial and error. You know, no, what is it? Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah. No, it's 100% true.
Like it just, yeah.
It's so true.
And with every, again, I keep going back to this, but with every experience, you know, you have to remember when you're on a journey, for example, you're trying to build your business, right? And it's just trial and error. You also have to remember that you have your individuality, like that personal side that's growing with you. So not only are you trying to grow business, for example, you're also growing in life. So things may happen in this side that are going to affect this.
Yeah.
And it's just this constant back and forth.
And I think a lot of times if you don't grow as a person while you're trying to grow as a professional, it goes hand in hand. So you can't behave the same way you maybe would have at 20. You know,
You have to adapt with yourself
as things expand and
as
grow
things
and you have more
expand,
responsibility. There's a lot that goes into it that you know you learn. You have to learn things. You can't you don't just start out as, you know, it's not a video game where you just start at, you know, where you want to start and you're good to go.
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole journey you have to go through, and yeah, it's important. It's an important thing to remember. So, like, where do you see yourself, you know, in the future?
Honestly, I don't know.
That's good.
And I'm okay with that. I think that's the best answer. I know what I would love to be doing.
It's the most
you know?
honest answer.
Yeah, I would love, you know, I'd love to say that I'll be traveling or I'll be living somewhere else or I'll be finished with my book. I'd love to have an answer. But I've always been a control freak, okay? Like for myself, because I wasn't able to control a lot of trauma and things growing up. So, you know, I controlled my environment and everything I say and do. And I met these group of friends in the beginning of the pandemic, ironically, and met them through like a mutual friend, and then they became kind of the hub. Not one of us have gotten COVID yet, knock on wood. Like we've been a really healthy, good group, like all that. But you know, I've been open up to a lot of conversations and things, and one thing they really made me realize is like I thought I knew a lot about myself, about life, and I really don't. And I always had this plan, you know, like I've been a little lost because, you know, I did goody two shoes at school, go to college, you know, get a college degree, get a job.
Yeah.
I've done that. Like that's where I'm at now. I have the job. But now I'm like, I don't know who the fuck I am. I took some, I'm very open about this. I took some mushrooms the other day, right? And I was sitting there and I was just, you know, I was having one of those very eye-opening moments. I didn't take a lot, just enough to, you know, kind of start reflecting on life. And I sat there and I was like, I have no idea who I am. I know, I mean, a little bit of, obviously I know parts of who I am, but I realized that everything I thought, like I thought the next step now would be to find someone, get settled down and have a kid, right? Like that was logically my whole life, the way I saw my life going, travel a bit, you know, no. And now with everything, with COVID, with growing up, with meeting new people, with hearing different people speak and getting a better understanding and notions that I've been taught as a kid breaking down, it's just made me realize that I have no idea where I'm going to be in a few years. And I'm very excited about it.
I like that.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I really am. I hope to be continuing, obviously, with the magazines, and I hope to also be experiencing some other things on top of it, you know. And who knows? Who knows? I mean, who really knows? Like I can't know. So that's, I guess, yeah.
That's a good way to look at it. I think that it's always a question that's difficult to answer, and that's why I like to ask it.
I love it
because it's like everyone asks or everyone answers it differently, and some people have a very specific thing, and some people say the same thing you do.
Yeah,
It's like, I have no idea.
I try to ask that too, the question.
And
a
that's
lot of
what
times.
that's how I view it. I view it like, well, I'd hope that
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z has worked out and this, but I could also get in a car accident on the way out of here, and you never know. So you don't have no idea.
I was gonna say you could get a phone call that you're wanted in like
Right.
Peru to go like live a year, but car accident, sure. if you
Well,
want.
but the reality is though is like, I can't plan
Yeah.
my life out because I don't know when it's how long it's
can't.
gonna go.
You
So
can't.
I don't know. I don't know.
I can't believe
And-
there was ever a time we ever thought we could. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like there is no, you just have to just go about each day.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say plans are nice, but ultimately useless because it's like they never get followed. There's guidelines, there's things that you can try and accomplish, but there's really no, that's not to say you shouldn't, write down what you want to do
No.
and have like a plan, but like
Things are
if
gonna.
the plan doesn't go according to plan, it's probably normal. It's expected.
You
It's
want to
okay.
be the bamboo and
Right.
not the stick or the branch.
Right,
Because the
that's a good way to
bamboo,
look at it.
like when
Moves
it
around
moves,
and-
it bends, it goes, and
Yeah.
the stick or the tree trunk or whatever. If there's a big storm, it just
Yeah.
snaps.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
that's literally the best way to go about it.
I think that's a good way to put that. It's gonna be the name of the episode. Is Be Bamboo.
Be a bamboo.
Be a bamboo.
Be the bamboo.
I love it.
So let's take your picture in a minute. Why don't you tell
okay.
everybody again your name and how to find you?
All right. Hi guys. So I'm Alex Bonnet. You can find me at there's two Instagrams.
Yeah, go
There's Bonnet Alex 18.
And spell it for him too.
Yeah, B as in boy, ONNET, the number 18, 1-8. And then the work one is Alex Bonnet, same spelling, writes, as in literally writes, like she writes. So Alex Bonnet writes and Bonnet Alex 18. And thank you guys for having me
No, of
here
course.
today.
Thanks for
And
coming.
to those of you who will be listening to this, hope to meet you guys one day.
Yeah. All right, guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Cool.